What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2 of Chapter 20 The Final Goal. Advertise here. Seeing Ajin's killing spree, Creek felt horrified. He knew in his heart that even he was probably no match for Ajin. What's more, Bai Ye, who hasn't taken action yet, is the biggest enemy. But even so, Creek didn't want to give up his last hope and wanted to struggle again. HMPH, I want you to know who is the strongest pirate in the East China Sea. Creek brandished a big gun, and his golden suit shone brightly under the moonlight. At this moment, it looked like the arrival of the god of war. Really, you're quite tough. Bai Ye chuckled. Ajin, let's go and have fun with Creek. Ajin appeared behind Creek in a flash, reached up with both crutches, and struck down with all his strength. The weapon rubbed violently with the air, causing little sparks to appear. Creek reacted very quickly, raised the big gun, put it above his head, and hit the big gun hard with his crutches, bang. For a time, the earth shook and the mountains shook, and waves rose up from the nearby sea. Creek was smashed directly into the ground, and a deep pit several meters wide appeared on the ground. At this time, the golden battle suit on Creek's body was shattered into pieces, and the gun had already been broken into 2 halves. The whole person's face was covered in blood, and the bones in both arms were broken. It was so miserable. Just when Ajin was about to give a fatal blow, Creek suddenly begged, I was wrong, don't kill me, I am willing to become your subordinate. Although Creek's surrender was despicable, Bai Ye did not refuse his surrender. No matter what Creek's plan is, as long as he eats the weirdo cells, everything is a foregone conclusion. Bai Ye had no reason to refuse. It has to be said that Creek can become the strongest pirate in the East China Sea, except for his shameless methods. Creek's talent is also beyond the reach of normal people. Possessing uncanny strength that is incomparable to ordinary people, he can wield a large gun weighing more than 2,000 kilograms with one arm. After taking the monster cells, his transformed strength instantly surpassed that of Ajin. Bai Ye also received the system prompt and successfully changed the plot. After more than half a month, Bai Ye has basically changed all the original plot in his memory. For example, on Gai Island, kill the Black Cat pirates. It's just bad luck that no trace of Usopp was found on Gai Island. Open the system panel. Open black lens bracket host. Bai close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 5%. World source power, 745. Fusion degree 5% 6%, cost of world source power, 160. Opening the redemption level 2 store requires spending world source power, 1000. 745 points of world source power is the result of Bai Ye's struggle for more than half a month. Fusion degree 6% 7%, requires world source power, 200. Fusion degree 7% 8%, world source power required, 240. Bai Ye directly worked hard to increase the fusion degree by 3 points, spending 600 points of world source power. Open black lens bracket host. Bai close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 8%. World source power, 145. Feeling the full strength in his body, Bai Ye breathed a long sigh of relief and murmured. Maybe now I am qualified to stand in front of him. Just 3 days ago, after Bai Ye defeated the Black Cat pirates, I wanted to experiment with a crazy idea, an idea that popped into my mind as soon as I got the system. That is, should we try to kill the son of the world, Luffy? Once this thought appears, it can no longer be suppressed like wildfire. By changing Nami's fate, it can be noticed that there seems to be an important role in the original work. The benefits brought by blindly killing people are not as much as those from continuously participating in events. But if you live your whole life and everything depends on gains and losses, then it will be too tiring. So Bai Ye went to Windmill Village. Maybe God is really blessing Luffy. When Byakuya went there a few days ago. Luffy's grandfather, marine hero, Garp is also in Windmill Village. Even though Bai Ye did not have direct contact with Garp, he felt great pressure from Garp. If you try forcefully, the chance of success is very low. Moreover, Byakuya still needed Marine's identity, so he had to put aside the matter of killing Luffy and decided to deal with the Creek pirates first. Now 3 points of integration have been increased, which has greatly improved the strength. This idea came up again in Bai Ye. At the same time, the Rogue Town Marine Base. In the office, a man was wearing a marine justice coat, with his right leg resting on his left knee, holding a large cigarette in his mouth and puffing out the smoke. This is Smoker, who was awarded the rank of colonel in the marine headquarters and is responsible for guarding the entrance to the Grand Route from the East China Sea. As the first student of the same period to graduate from the elite training camp of marine headquarters, he is also a user with Logia fruit abilities. Smoker's future is bright. Having just graduated from the training camp, he is now stationed in Rogue Town, the entrance to the Grand Route. Such treatment is not available to everyone. With Smoker's strength, suppressing the entire East China Sea is not a problem. We just have to guard Rogue Town and cannot act privately. Otherwise, he would have led his men and wiped out the East China Sea pirates one by one. At this time, Smoker held information transmitted from other marine branches in the East China Sea. Marine Lieutenant Byakuya single-handedly defeated the strongest pirate group in the East China Sea, the Creek Pirates. The title is extremely conspicuous in terms of information. After a quick inspection, Smoker couldn't help but think, what is the origin of this White Knight? From being unknown to becoming famous in the East China Sea, Bai Ye only spent about half a month. Almost all the famous pirates in the East China Sea died tragically in Bai Ye's hands. From this point of view, it is not an exaggeration to say that Bai Ye is a hero. But Bai Ye killed Colonel Mouse of the 16th branch, but Bai Ye's identity became confusing. Captain Marine. Are you really Marine? Just when Smoker was racking his brains for Bai Ye's identity. Bai Ye has already taken Creek and Agent on the way to Windmill Village. No matter whether the operation to kill Luffy succeeds or not, Byakuya will not linger any longer in the East China Sea. 2 days later, we successfully arrived at Windmill Village. Crick, Agent, your appearance is too easy to identify. Please change it. Yes, sir. Creek and Agent controlled the facial muscles and made subtle adjustments. After the adjustments, there was no trace of the past at all. This is also one of the abilities brought by the weird cells. Looking at the two completely unfamiliar faces, Bai Ye thought for a moment and said, since your appearance has changed. From now on, your names should also change. Quote. Bai Ye is divided into 4 levels. Gods, dragons, ghosts and tigers according to the method of rating monsters in One Punch Man. Based on the current strength of Creek and Akin, Bai Ye calls them Ghost 1 and Ghost 2. If judged by the amount of the reward, both of them should be considered big pirates with a reward of hundreds of millions. Let's go and see the future One Piece, now. If he still has a future. Chapter 21 Long Live the Ant People. Advertise here. Before going to Windmill Village, Bai Ye arranged for Kebby to go to Sky Island to find Colonel Vaughn, so that Colonel Vaughn could teach him well. This can be regarded as satisfying Kirby's dream of becoming a Marine. After all, he has too many secrets, and it is not very convenient for Kebby to follow him. After finishing these chores, Bai Ye took Gui Ye and Gui Er to Windmill Village. The 3 of them were in Windmill Village and soon found the banquet tavern that Luffy often went to, which was also the tavern owned by Maginot. My 3 guests, what kind of wine do you want? As soon as the 3 people came in, Maginot stepped forward and asked proactively. When Bai Ye saw Maginot, he felt the oncoming sense of intimacy. Wearing smart work clothes, short dark green hair, fair face, and big eyes that seem to speak, he greatly shortens the distance between people. Moreover, Maginot is kind-hearted and gentle, and is definitely the perfect wife candidate. No wonder everyone said that the reason why the red-haired man ran to Windmill Village was not to trick Luffy into becoming a pirate. But here for Maginot. That's right. They all covet human bodies and are despicable. Seeing that Bai Ye didn't reply for a long time, Maginot looked up at Bai Ye and found that Bai Ye's eyes were looking at her unabashedly. His face turned red involuntarily, and he felt his cheeks heat up. He lowered his head and asked again in a low voice. After hearing Maginot's question, Bai Ye came to his senses and said with a smile, sorry, I was distracted by something just now, so I went to your signature bar. Looking at Bai Ye's smile, Maginot's face blushed even more, and even the roots of her ears were a little red. He agreed softly, and then hurriedly went to get the wine. Seeing Maginot's cute and confused look, Bai Ye chuckled and said, sure enough, he is handsome and can eat anywhere. If it were an ugly man staring at Maginot just now, although Maginot wouldn't be angry due to his personality, he would definitely not blush with embarrassment. Maginot put the wine on the table in front of Bai Ye, then returned to the counter to wipe the wine glass. Whenever Maginot looked up inadvertently and saw Bai Yoruichi looking at her with a smile, she felt like a deer in her heart. Several times I almost dropped the wine glass I was wiping in my hand. The mysterious feeling emanating from Bai Ye makes people immersed in it without even realizing it. Just when Maginot was thinking about something, a magnetic voice suddenly sounded in her ears, Madam Boss, your wine is delicious, can you give me another glass? Maginot, who was thinking wildly, was startled, his hand subconsciously loosened, and the wine glass slipped down, almost falling to the ground. Maginot exclaimed, wine glass, and wanted to reach out and grab it. But at this time, her mind was already confused and her actions became much clumsy. Instead of grabbing the wine glass, the sole of his foot slipped and he fell backward. Bai Ye took a step forward without thinking, put his right hand around Maginot's slender waist, and grabbed the fallen wine glass with his left hand. At this moment, an unusually heroic voice came from the door, Makino, service wine according to the usual standards. A group of strangely dressed people filed in from the door and seemed to be very familiar with the tavern. But after this group of people came in, they immediately saw Bai Ye hugging Maginot, and the scene suddenly became quiet. After Maginot stood up, Bai Ye took out his hand and looked at the group of people in front of him. He has red hair, only his right arm is left, and he has a long sword on his waist. He has such a distinctive image that anyone who has seen One Piece can recognize him at a glance. One of the 4 emperors, red-haired Shanks. Also with him are some of the cadres of the red-haired pirates, Ben Beckman, Jesus Bu, Lachalu and others. The courage of this guy to make Makino in front of the red hair is probably unique in the world of pirates. Bai Ye was looking at Shanks, and Shanks was also looking at Bai Ye. The young man was a little confused. When he noticed the change in Bai Ye's eyes, the red-haired man thought, does this kid recognize me? He shouldn't be from this village, right? Maginot's face turned red, she thanked Bai Ye in a low voice, and then served wine to Shanks and others. Bai Ye also returned to his seat and continued drinking, feeling a little frustrated. It seemed that his plan had failed again. It's okay to pick up Maginot in front of Shanks, but if he kills Luffy who hasn't grown up yet in front of Shanks, he's probably courting death. Lakeelu picked up the wine glass and drank it down, then laughed and said, ha ha ha, the boss is broken in love, and he is really a loser when he sees Maginot being taken away by others. The red-haired man stiffened his neck and defended, who said I was lovelorn? I asked Maginot. What just happened was an accident. Accident. Boss, can you stop lying to yourself? It's not like you didn't see how red Maginot was blushing just now. Gangoon, Lousy said accidents are accidents. Ha ha ha, I'm in a hurry, the boss is in a hurry. Lakeelu and the others mocked the red-haired man wantonly, poking at the red-haired man's pain points with every sentence. The crew members laughed at the captain, which can be regarded as the unique, corporate culture, of the red-haired pirates. Just then, a voice full of surprise sounded from the door of the tavern, Shanks. A figure rushed into the tavern, came to Shanks' side, and said longingly, what pirate story are you going to tell me when you come back this time? Shanks looked at the people around him and smiled, Luffy, you have grown a lot during this time. Of course. Ben Beckman asked with a smile, Luffy, are you almost an adult? Luffy said carelessly, yes, there is still 1.5 years to go. When I become an adult, I will go to sea. I want to become a One Piece man. Luffy's words were full of confidence, as if becoming One Piece would definitely be achievable for him. Luffy, Shanks and others have known each other for many years, and they are very familiar with each other and chatting lively. As this Luffy, seeing Luffy dangling in front of his eyes, Bai Ye's heart felt as itchy as a cat's claws. At this time, Luffy was no longer a human, in Bai Ye's eyes, but an innumerable source of world power. As the destined son of the pirate world, One Piece is the core character, and almost all plots revolve around him. Once he kills it, Bai Ye feels that he can gain at least 100,000 world source power, and maybe he can directly increase the fusion degree to more than 50%. Unfortunately, with red hair here, this idea is impossible to realize. It can be said that Luffy is indeed the son of destiny. When he came a few days ago, Garp was in Windmill Village and made Byakuya return without success. After finally waiting for Garp to leave, Bai Ye arrived at Windmill Village and Red Hair also arrived, putting Bai Ye's plan in ruins again. Bai Ye couldn't help but sigh, this could be regarded as the world's protection. Chapter 22 Feet Night, Organization. Advertise here. Is this coming for me? Why did you disappear? Was what you felt just now an illusion? The red-haired man suddenly felt a faint killing intent appear. Although the killing intent quickly disappeared, it still caught his attention. When the red-haired man was confused, Ben Beckman also frowned and pushed the red-haired man silently. As the vice-captain and sniper of the red-haired pirates, Beckman's senses are also very keen. He also felt the killing intent just now. The red-haired man and Beckman looked at each other, confirming that the feeling just now was not an illusion. The red-haired expression remained unchanged and he asked in a low voice, who do you think wants to deal with us? Beckman shook his head and said that he didn't know either. The murderous intention just now dissipated too quickly, and they were so noisy here that they didn't pay much attention. I don't know for sure, but I think those three guys are very suspicious. The red hair pointed in the direction of Bai Ye and the others. Beckman looked in the direction pointed by the red hair, suddenly became happy, and said with a smile, Captain, are you sure you didn't deliberately find trouble with him because Maginot was taken away by him? The red-haired man said angrily, well, I told you, it was an accident just now. Besides, is Lousy so narrow-minded? After making fun of the redhead, Beckman returned to his serious look, why do you think there is something wrong with him? I really think that guy is a bit weird. The way he looked at me before seemed like he recognized me. You know, Lousy is one of the 4 emperors of New World. Ordinary people would be so frightened when they hear my name that they can't walk, but that guy recognized me. How can he still drink there so calmly? Hearing what the red hair said, Beckman also felt that something was wrong with this kid. Since I'm not sure, I'll give him a try. Beckman warned, well, this is also a way, but you must be careful not to explode with too much strength. Garp doesn't know that we are in Windmill Village yet. If the old guy knows, then we will very busy. Although the red-haired pirates are not afraid of Garp, they don't want to provoke a strong man like Garp. After all, being targeted by such a strong person is very troublesome. One-on-one, Garp is not afraid of you. If there are more people than there are, with Garp's prestige and status in Marine, he can at least attract a man with the strength of a general, plus some lieutenant generals and major generals, and this lineup will be no worse than a 4 emperors group. After Bai Ye finished drinking the wine, when he was about to leave, he saw Red Hair walking towards him with a wine glass, and knew that he might not be able to leave. He didn't expect the red-haired person to be so sensitive to murderous intent. Before, he only showed a trace of his presence and was noticed by the red-haired person. But there is nothing that can be done about it. In the past half-month, more than 10 pirate groups have been wiped out by Bai Ye. After solving so many people, Bai Ye's control of killing intent is naturally no longer as precise as before, and it will take some time to settle down. Now that it has been discovered, we can only find a way to deal with it. The temperament exuded from the red hair is very ordinary, just like Lao Wang next door. Normally, you can't tell any difference at all. If Byakuya hadn't known the identity of the red-haired man, he really wouldn't have been able to connect the red-haired man with the pirate emperor. My friends think you are a bit unfamiliar. You are not from Windmill Village, right? That's right, I just arrived at Windmill Village today and I think this place is very nice. Bai Ye finished the wine in his glass. The wine is delicious and the landlady is also very beautiful. I like it very much. There is no direct relationship between the red-haired man and Maginot. At most, they have some good feelings. Before, they were just joking with each other. But when Bai Ye said this to his face, no matter how good-tempered Hong Fa was, he felt a little unhappy. What is your purpose in coming to Windmill Village? As he spoke, the red-haired man subconsciously burst out with a trace of Conqueror's domineering aura. Although the aura was very weak, it was extremely powerful. The whole person is like a lonely boat thrown into the endless storm, letting the waves beat in the wind and waves rage, but still floating on the water. Under the impact of this momentum, the tables and chairs around Bai Ye suddenly cracked, and his clothes moved without any wind, but his expression did not change at all. Bai Ye did not answer the red-haired question and said calmly, he is indeed one of the 4 emperors. His momentum alone can crush many people to death. You really recognize me, who are you? The murderous intent flashed through the red-haired eyes, and the aura that burst out was fleeting. The red-haired man was very curious about Byakuya's identity. Marine, pirate, a special organization of the world government, or someone from the underground world. The red-haired man did not want to take action in Maginot's tavern, nor did he want the people in Windmill Village to know his true identity. Go out and talk. Okay. Bai Ye agreed happily, but he didn't want to stay here either. The reason is very simple. There are too many strong people here. If a fight really breaks out, it will be difficult to escape. Bai Ye is not stupid, he doesn't think that his current strength can compare with the red hair. Just after seeing the red hair, a bold idea appeared in Bai Ye's mind. The two walked out of the tavern side by side and walked towards the sparsely populated coast. The departure of the two had no impact on the tavern, which was still lively and noisy. When they came to the shore, the two stopped and looked at each other. Can we talk now? Bai Ye looked at the red-haired man who was always ready to take action, with a normal expression, and smiled. Let me introduce myself, my name is Harry, from Yi. Bai Ye is not prepared to reveal her real name. She uses a trumpet when going out. She is such a cautious person. Knight. The red-haired man frowned, becoming even more confused. This is the name of our organization. We have people all over the world. Some are responsible for collecting intelligence, and some are responsible for selling intelligence. And I'm the one in charge of selling. Quote. Information merchants. Why haven't I heard of your organization in New World? Our organization was established not long ago, so naturally we have never heard of a big shot like you. The red-haired man didn't fully believe Bai Ye's explanation and asked, then you came to me this time because you have information to sell to me. For someone like you who is at the top of the world, you are naturally our biggest buyer. Bai Ye could see that the red hair still didn't trust him, but he was also prepared for such a situation. After all, the person who can become the pirate emperor needs not only superior strength, but also his own calculations. Even Kaido, who looks like a psychopath, has too many evil thoughts. Not to mention the only man who became the pirate emperor without relying on devil fruit. Bai Ye smiled and said, for special users like you, in order to show our sincerity, we, Yi, will give you a piece of information that you don't know for free. Is there any news that I don't know? Then I really want to listen carefully. If I had heard this news, or if it dissatisfied me, you would have never left the island alive today. The red-haired man revealed endless killing intent in his words. Chapter 23 Imperial Engine. Advertise here. Bai Ye didn't take the red-haired threat seriously because he was sure that the news was enough to shock the red-haired man. This news is about One Piece Roger. Did you know that Roger also has a child? Bai Ye's calm words fell in the red-haired ears, but they were like thunder exploding in his ears. R.O. Captain Roger, do you have a child? Impossible. When the Roger pirates announced their disbandment, Captain Roger surrendered a year later. If there was a child, how could I not know about it? Furthermore, after Captain Roger was executed, Marine conducted several months of searches on Baitalila Island where Captain Roger was located, but found no trace of the child at all. Even the world government doesn't know this information, and you say you know it. Do you think I will believe it if you just tell me the news? When Roger was mentioned, the red-haired man directly pulled out Griffin and pointed his sword at Bai Ye. His murderous intent was condensed in his body, as if he was about to kill Bai Ye here in the next moment. The originally clear sky suddenly became gloomy, with countless dark clouds covering the sky and the sun, and dark purple thunder and lightning appearing and disappearing in the dark clouds. The information sold by our Knight organization is naturally absolutely true. Surrounded by the red-haired conqueror's domineering aura, Bai Ye pretended to be calm on the surface, but in his mind he was constantly thinking about how to escape unscathed if the red-haired man took action. At this moment, the system notification sound suddenly sounded in my mind. Congratulations to host for achieving the achievement, famous in the East China Sea, and will be rewarded with 500 points of world source power. Bai Ye has been killing pirates these days, causing his reputation to spread widely in the East China Sea. One of the ways to increase world source power was accidentally completed. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Ye close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree. 8%. World source power. 645. At this moment, Bai Ye didn't hesitate at all. He could be stronger. Fusion degree 8% 9%. World source power required. 280. Fusion degree 9% 10%. Cost of world source power. 350. Congratulations to the host for reaching 10% integration. You can randomly select the special abilities of the powerful in the world of One Punch Man. Damn it, there is such a good thing. Bai Ye was overjoyed. The extraction is completed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the ability of the S-Class Hero King, the Emperor Engine. Emperor Engine. It can make the host's heart beat violently and make a shocking heartbeat sound. Enhanced with the improvement of host integration. Close black lens bracket. I'm so stupid. At such a critical moment, you don't give me a practical special skill, but give me a look like this. If the red hair hadn't been right in front of him, Bai Ye could have scolded the system for an hour without doing anything serious. Seeing the red-haired man who was about to kill him if he disagreed with her, Bai Ye could only treat him like a dead horse. Business here is all about harmony and wealth, so why bother with fighting and killing? The next moment, the Emperor's engine was used directly, and with Bai Ye's heart beating rapidly. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of the heart beating faster and louder, Bai Ye looked directly into the red-haired eyes filled with murderous intent, looking extremely calm. The red-haired man listened to the heartbeat and felt that his heart was held by an invisible big hand, squeezing with Bai Ye's heartbeat. The two seemed to want to reach the same frequency, and there was an indescribable depression. This was a feeling I had never experienced before. An unnatural red color appeared on the red-haired face, and his whole body was stagnant. At the same time, an invincible momentum rose from Bai Ye's body, and the dark clouds in the sky suddenly changed. Invisible sound waves spread to the sky, scattering the dark clouds as black as ink. The sky returned to its usual clear state, the warm sunshine shone down again, and the dark clouds seemed to have never appeared before. Bai Ye looked at the changes in front of him and was filled with excitement. Damn it, he didn't expect this, Emperor Engine, to be so powerful. It was almost a different kind of Conqueror's domineering power. What kind of weird ability is this? My Conqueror's hockey has actually been broken. The red-haired man's face was gloomy and uncertain. Even though he didn't show the strongest Conqueror's domineering power just now, with the aura he just exuded, the entire ocean could be broken by no more than 2 hands. The Harry in front of him from Night could actually do it, which made him feel that this organization was probably no small matter. Mr. Shanks, don't be so excited. If you take action and lure Lieutenant General Garp over, I'm afraid you will be in a lot of trouble. The red-haired man said coldly, I didn't expect you to have such strength. Bai Ye knew that he should be safe, so he finally breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, if you dare to do business with the 4 emperors, you will naturally need someone more powerful. When I fully tell you the news, you will naturally be able to judge whether it is true or false. After seeing Bai Ye's strength, Red Hair was a little unsure of the strength of this Yi organization. The Harry in front of me is not weak, but what about the other members of the Yi organization? Isn't the leader of this organization even more powerful? If such a mysterious organization suddenly appears on the sea, I really don't know what kind of disturbance it will cause. Seeing that the red-haired man did not speak, Bai Ye continued, Roger did have a child before his execution, but it was just not born yet. At that time, Marine was searching for Roger's bloodline on Battleilla Island. Roger's wife, Portkas D. Rouge, carried the child for 20 months in order to prevent the child from being killed. It was not until Marine withdrew the search that the child was born. Quote. Because of this, after the birth of the child, Portkas D. Rouge was too weak and died of exhaustion. When Bai Ye mentioned that Roger's wife was Portkas D. Rouge, a young man wearing an orange sun hat and a little Madara on his face suddenly flashed in the red-haired mind. Garp's grandson, Portkas D. Ace. The red-haired man completely understood Captain Roger's move of handing over his only flesh and blood to Garp to raise. Garp and Roger are old friends who have fought countless battles. More than 30 years ago, the two teamed up to defeat the strongest Rocks pirate group at the time. Garp also earned the title of Hero of the Marine. The relationship between the two as enemies and friends is very complicated, but also very strong. This news is probably true. Hong Fa's mood is a little complicated now. He didn't expect that the child he had seen several times before was actually the flesh and blood of the captain. When I came here this time, I heard from Luffy that Ace had already embraced the dream of becoming One Piece and went to sea to become a pirate. Captain Roger left Ace in the care of Garp. In addition to trust, he probably also wanted Ace to become a marine and not make the same mistake he made. But who would have thought that Ace would actually become a pirate under the guidance of Garp? Bai Ye looked at the somewhat sad expression on the red hair, and knew that the red hair believed what he said. Now that you have judged the authenticity of the news, my mission this time is over. If you want to buy information in the future, you only need to spread the news and look for the Night organization, and someone will naturally come to you to trade. Farewell. Chapter 24 Garp's Fury. Advertise here. Not far from the windmill village, a huge marine warship flying the seagull flag was sailing on the sea. The front structure of the warship looks like a somewhat funny pug holding a bone in its mouth, making the entire ship extremely awkward. But just such a slightly funny ship made the pirates in New World frightened. In the bloody warring states period, Lousy still imposes tasks on me when he is resting with his grandson. It's really not a thing. When Lousy goes back, I will eat all the senbei in your drawer and make you angry to death. Also, that red-haired boy is not a good thing. If he doesn't stay in the New World, he has to come to the East China Sea with the whole group, which will delay Lousy's vacation. As a result, I can't even teach my grandson properly. A burly and powerful old man wearing a dog head hat, nearly 3 meters tall, kept yelling and cursing. Adjutant Bogart also felt helpless when he saw Garp cursing. He is obviously an old man who is nearly 70 years old, and he can curse with more force than a young man. The surrounding soldiers pretended not to hear anything. Things like this happened at least 3 or 4 times a week. They have become accustomed to Garp's irregular appearance. While Garp was cursing, Bogart hurriedly went up and asked, "Lieutenant General Garp, it's better not to say these words anymore. Now it's more important to find the red-haired pirates. This is the 4 Emperors pirate group. To actually come to the weakest place in the East China Sea, there must be something up their sleeve. Should we notify the Marines on each island to take strict precautions?" Quote. Hearing this, Garp rolled his eyes at Bogart and said angrily, "So what if I notify you? Can the soldiers on the East China Sea island withstand the impact of the red-haired pirates? It's better to keep it as it is now. Notifying them will cause them to become overly nervous and cause unnecessary trouble." Quote. As expected of Lieutenant General Garp, his thoughts are far-reaching. Bogart quickly flattered him. HMPH. Garp crossed his arms and raised his chin slightly, feeling quite pleased with himself. Doesn't Bogart understand this? In fact, he understands it better than anyone else. With Garp's unconventional character, he doesn't care about anything at all. The instructions issued by Marine and all matters on the ship are all handled by Bogart. Bogart said this just because he was afraid that Garp would continue to scold him. It's been 3 hours, and Garp's mouth is not tired, but his ears are too. While the two were talking, they suddenly saw a sudden change in the weather on the left front, from cloudless to dark clouds in an instant. A thunder dragon with its teeth and claws could even be seen emerging from the gloomy dark clouds. As Garp's adjutant, Bogart also followed Garp for many years. Having seen countless strong men, I could tell what this was at a glance. This is the impact of Conqueror's Haki. There is no doubt that there is only one man who can unleash Conqueror's domineering power in the East China Sea. One of the 4 emperors, red-haired Shanks. Garp looked at the gloomy sky and murmured, "What on earth is going on?" The red hair actually used Conqueror's Haki in the East China Sea. Did he encounter some powerful enemy? Or is it that there are unknown strong men lurking in the East China Sea? Is the red hair here just for him this time? While Garp was thinking, a soldier came forward to report. "Lieutenant General Garp, that side seems to be the direction of Windmill Village." "What? You mean the red-haired pirates are in Windmill Village now?" Garp's face was full of disbelief. A few days ago, he had to end his vacation because he received the news that the red-haired pirates appeared in the East China Sea. Leave Windmill Village and search for traces of the red-haired pirates on the East China Sea. As a result, I found nothing in the past few days, but you told me that the red-haired pirates are in my hometown. What is there in Windmill Murakami that can attract the attention of the red-haired pirates? Could it be that the redhead knew Ace's true identity? Impossible. No one else but me can know this news. Who else could the red-haired target be? Could it be Luffy? Thinking of this, an idea flashed in Garp's mind. Why is the straw hat behind Luffy so familiar? There is always a feeling of déjà vu. So it shouldn't be Roger's straw hat, right? Speaking of this, Garp suddenly thought of a piece of news from more than 10 years ago. At that time, the red-haired man actually lost his left arm after going to the East China Sea. The magnificent 4 emperors actually lost an arm in the weakest Donghai. This was huge news at the time. The red-haired pirates did not give any explanation for this. In addition, the red hair's strength is still strong, so this matter will be dropped. But since then, every time Garp went back to Windmill Village for vacation, he would see his grandson Luffy wearing an ordinary straw hat. It was also from that time that Luffy kept clamoring to become a one-piece man and to go to sea and become a pirate. Garp is so angry that he has beaten Luffy for so many years. But no matter how hard he beats him, Luffy is like a bastard who has become determined to become a pirate. This also made Garp very depressed. Good guys, today Lousy finally found the reason. Original problem. It's the redhead. I come back every time to teach my grandson how to be a good marine. After I left, the red-haired man came over and encouraged Luffy to become a pirate, spreading the benefits of becoming a pirate, which made his teaching of love fall short. This redhead has been playing a big game of chess since 10 years ago. The more Garp thought about this matter, the more clearly it became clear, and the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Garp said angrily, "Go at full speed in the direction of Windmill Village. We must catch the red-haired pirates. I want this naughty Shanks to taste the power of my iron fist." At this time, Bai Ye, with Gui Yidi and was already heading towards Rog Town. There is less than a week left before the collection deadline, so we should be almost there. Although this trip to Windmill Village did not achieve the final goal, I almost had a fight with the red hair. But for Bai Ye, this operation was not considered a failure. The night organization that was originally said to the red hair. It's just that Bai Ye was in a hurry and made up one after his own name. But if you think about it carefully, this organization may really have a need to exist. As a time traveler, his greatest advantage, apart from the system, is the plot knowledge he has in his mind. By skillfully using this plot knowledge, you may be able to gain a large amount of world power. The emergence of the Knight organization just provided a reasonable source for this information. When the time comes, even if you summon strong men from other worlds, they can still be inserted into the Yi organization. This will actually make the Knight organization more mysterious and powerful. It can be said that it achieves multiple things with one stone. The more I think about this, the more Bai Ye feels that I am really a genius. Chapter 25 Battle Against Smoker. Advertise here. Rog Town, known as the Town of the Beginning and the End, is located in the East China Sea, near the entrance of the Grand Route. There was only one day left before the deadline for reporting, so I hurriedly and slowly finally caught up. Bai Ye came to the Marine base in Rog Town to report. The soldier on duty looked at the ID in his hand and said with surprise, "Bai Ye. Are you Bai Ye?" "Yes, isn't my name written on the certificate?" Bai Ye said with a smile. The soldier on duty kept looking at Bai Ye. He could never connect the handsome man in front of him with a gentle smile to Bai Ye, who was called the Butcher by the East China Sea pirates. "Can I go in now?" "Oh, it's okay, it's okay." Hearing Yi's words, the soldier on duty came to his senses and quickly handed the certificate in his hand to Bai Ye. He said with a tone full of admiration, "You are truly a role model for us Marine. As a Marine, these are just what I should do." Bai Ye didn't think he was very noble. He took the initiative to kill these pirates just so that he could obtain the source of the world. But for these low-level Marine soldiers, they don't think so. In their opinion, people like Bai Ye are powerful and have a bright future. But he was willing to risk his life to kill pirates before leaving. The danger in the East China Sea has been greatly reduced. In other words, Bai Ye virtually saved the lives of countless Marine soldiers. Worthy of their admiration. Colonel Smoker, Bai Ye has come to report for duty. Hearing Bai Ye's name, Smoker's eyes flashed. Good guy, the wait is finally here. He had found Bai Ye's name on the list of applicants for the Marine Elite training camp before, and thought it was just the same name. But after he contacted Colonel Vaughn, he determined that the Marine captain on the list, Bai Ye, was Bai Ye who was famous in the East China Sea. So he always wanted to see what kind of character this was. Let Bai Ye come to my place. Yes, forget it, I'd better go find him myself. Walking in the Marine base during the White Night, I was like a panda being watched in a zoo. Whether they are Marines stationed locally in Rogue Town, or soldiers coming from other Marine bases to participate in Marine Elite training camps, they all want to see what the man called the Butcher by the pirates looks like. A burly man said to his companion, "This is the Butcher Bai Ye. Doesn't it look like him? Looking at his frail appearance, I feel like I can kill both of them with one punch." "Yeah, he's too thin, isn't he? Bai Ye shouldn't be a strong man 3 meters tall, with a muscular face and a burly body. Could this be a lie?" A female soldier on the side scolded angrily, "Do you think Bai Ye is just like you, with simple minds, well-developed limbs, and nothing in the brain except muscles? That is, if you have the ability, go kill a pirate group alone. This Bai Ye is so handsome. Just based on his face, I think his strength should be the same as the rumors." Although these people didn't speak loudly, Bai Ye couldn't hold back Bai Ye's ears and picked up all their words. Good guy, as long as my brother is handsome, his outlook will follow his facial features. When Smoker arrived, he saw a group of people surrounding Bai Ye. "What are you doing here if you don't go to training? Have you got nothing to do? Have you captured all the pirates around Rog Town?" Hearing Smoker's slightly serious tone, everyone around him immediately dispersed and went about their own business. When Smoker saw Bai Ye, he was also shocked by Bai Ye's young appearance. However, he didn't pay too much attention to this matter, but looked into Bai Ye's eyes seriously. Bai Ye was also looking at Smoker. He had short silver hair, his shirt was open, and his chest was fully exposed. He had a cigar wrapped around his waist, and 2 Heilu Shisho were inserted behind his back. This can be regarded as one of the few Marine characters that Bai Ye has met who is relatively important in the original work. Smoker frowned and said, "You killed Colonel Mouse and more than 100 of his soldiers on the island of Oranges and Windmills, right?" "Yes, I killed him." Bai Ye readily admitted that this incident was beyond Smoker's expectation. "Don't you have anything to say? Shouldn't you give me a reasonable explanation? Wantlessly killing Major Marine and more than 100 Marines is not a small crime. I suppressed this matter. If you report it, I'm afraid I can imprison you in Shangcheng City." Bai Ye sneered, "What's there to say? They wanted to kill me, so I killed them. Besides, don't you think they should be killed? The United Dragon Pirates have been oppressing Kokoja village for more than 10 years. A lot of people have died under Aaron's hands in the past 10 years. And as the colonel of the Rogue Town Marine Base, you are in charge of all Marines in the East China Sea. But you have allowed this incident to happen for so long. Don't you think this incident has a lot to do with you? I helped you deal with Marines moths, and now you want to punish me. Smoker was left speechless by Bai Ye's words. He was silent for a while and then said, "You are right, I do have a big responsibility for this matter. But you can choose to report this matter, and we will naturally deal with those who collude with the Dragon Pirates." Quote. Bai Ye sneered and sneered mercilessly, "As all shit in your head." Smoker said angrily, "Captain Bai Ye, watch your words. You are talking to your superior now. Speak. Lousy just wants to talk to you with his fists now." As soon as Bai Ye finished speaking, his figure disappeared from Smoker's eyes. The next moment, he punched Smoker directly in the head. It's actually so fast. Smoker was shocked. He didn't expect Bai Ye to be so fast. If this punch hit, he would probably be seriously injured or not dead. The friction between the fist and the air made a harsh sound, and before the fist hit, the strong wind caused by it rustled Smoker's shirt. Although Bai Ye was only a lieutenant, Smoker did not dare to underestimate him in the slightest. After all, the reputation of defeating more than a dozen pirate groups by one person is not just blown away. This is also a strong man who has come through bloody battles. At this moment, it was too late for Smoker to dodge, so he could only activate the fruit ability immediately. Bai Yoruichi punched Smoker's head, and his whole fist sank into it, but it seemed to hit a ball of air, and Smoker's head turned into smoke and dispersed. With both hands, he pulled out the 10 sea tower stone hands from his waist and chopped them down hard, shrouding the White Knight, one on the left and the other on the right. Chapter 26 Smoker's Awakening. Advertise here. Everyone, look at Bai Ye and Colonel Smoker fighting. Someone not far away noticed the fight between Bai Ye and Smog and shouted loudly. What? Why did Bai Ye fight with Colonel Smoker? How could this happen? What happened? The crowd that had dispersed before gathered around again, nervously watching the fierce battle in the center. On one side is Colonel Smoker, and on the other side is Bai Ye, who they regard as a role model. They never imagined that these two characters would actually fight. White Fist. After Smoker turns his arms into smoke, he extends his smoke-formed fists and violently launches them towards Bai Ye. The two fists spiraled and intertwined in the air, leaving a long line of white smoke in the air, like a roaring dragon. Bai Ye sneered, "It's all bells and whistles." Bai Ye aimed at the dragon's head and punched it, causing the entire smoke dragon to collapse. Although you are strong, don't underestimate me, you bastard. Smoker turns the lower body into the shape of smoke, making the lower body act like a jet, flying quickly by rapidly spraying smoke. Leaving a large amount of smoke around Bai Ye to confuse Bai Ye, Smoker constantly shuttles through the smoke, launching attacks from time to time. White Yoruichi kicked away the juju coming from the right, and punched Smoker in the chest again. Smoker quickly used elementalization again, his fist passed through his chest, and Smoker was unharmed. Bai Ye snorted, it was indeed Logia's devil fruit, the ability to elementalize was really annoying. Without mastering the armament hockey, there is really no particularly good way to deal with the Logia fruit. It can only launch attacks again and again, constantly consuming the physical strength of the Logia fruit user. Although Bai Ye was unable to cause effective damage to Smoker, Smoker was even more powerless against Bai Ye. He didn't even know why Bai Ye was so powerful, whether it was strength, speed, or reaction. After a battle, he didn't cause any harm to Bai Ye, and his physical strength was almost half consumed. If this continues, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on for long. Bai Ye is so strong. Colonel Smoker used his fruit power, but he still couldn't defeat him. If I want to marry, I must marry someone as handsome and strong as Bai Ye. The male soldier on the side said helplessly, how long have you been so crazy? Hurry up and find a way to stop this fight. How to stop it? We are not even qualified to participate in this battle. At this time, the battle between Bai Ye and Smoker also entered a fever pitch, and Bai Ye was tired of this ineffective battle. This strengthened Byakuya's idea of going to the Marine Elite training camp to learn hockey. Hey, besides elementalization, do you have any other methods? It's boring to keep fighting like this. Smoker looked focused, still hiding in the smoke, and making surprise attacks on the White Knight from time to time. You're still here, Bai Ye said impatiently, do you really think I can't do anything to you if you become an elemental? Bai Ye sensed the timing of Smoker's appearance, and when a 10-hand strike came from behind, Bai Ye instead of avoiding it, faced him. Let go. Bai Ye let out a low groan and snatched the 10 hands away from Brother Smoke. Then the whole person rushed into the smoke, sensed Smoker's position, waved the 10 snatched hands, and slashed down suddenly. Bang! There was a deafening sound of steel interlacing in the smoke, and the 10 hands in Smoker's hand were directly knocked away more than 10 meters away. Bai Ye waved his 10 hands and hit Smoker's abdomen with a sweep, forcefully knocking Smoker out of his elemental state. Bai Ye didn't hold back this time, and a bright red mark appeared on Smoker's abdomen, causing severe pain. Smoker felt that his whole body was broken in half by the stick, and even moving was a luxury. Bai Ye put his 10 hands on Smoker's chest to prevent Smoker from using elementalization again. The outcome has been decided. The onlookers looked shocked and said, Colonel Smoker actually lost. They simply couldn't believe what was happening. Colonel Smoker is a user with the ability of the Logia Devil Fruit. Furthermore, Colonel Smoker was the number 1 in the 25th Marine Elite Training Camp at the same time, and he was defeated by Bai Ye, who is not even a newcomer. At this time, a doubt arose in everyone's mind, how strong is this Bai Ye? Smoker lay on the ground and struggled to prop himself up. Looking at Bai Ye who looked as usual in front of him, he couldn't help but feel a strong sense of frustration in his heart. As a Logia Fruit user, he lost to a person who didn't even know hockey. And the main reason for the failure turned out to be the sea-floor stone weapon he carried. Such a blow was too heavy for Smoker, who always had a high self-esteem. Smoker unconsciously recalled what teacher Zephyr said to him in the elite training camp. Smoker, don't think that because you are a Logia user, you can only develop fruit abilities and relax the training of other abilities. If you always have such a mentality, you will definitely suffer big losses in the future. Quote. At that time, Smoker did not take Zephyr's words seriously. In his opinion, the 3 marine generals Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji are all Logia Devil Fruit users who have developed the fruit's abilities to the extreme. He became the top figure on the sea. And he is also a user with Logia Devil Fruit ability. As long as he develops the fruit ability well, he will definitely become a strong man like the 3 generals. But now it seems that I was wrong, very wrong. Bai Ye looked at Smoker lying on the ground with a lost expression, and couldn't help but frown. I didn't hit him on the head with the stick. Did I hit him stupidly? Hey, is it comfortable lying on the floor? Hearing Bai Ye's words, Smoker woke up from his trance and climbed up from the ground with difficulty. Bai Ye asked, when I attacked you just now, what was your first thought? Smoker pondered for a moment, you betrayed Marine, I want to arrest you. Then what if I don't cooperate? Then, I will find a way to kill you. Bai Yoruichi clapped his hands and said, that's it. Only then did Smoker understand why Bai Ye suddenly attacked him. It turned out to be because of his previous problems. This made Smoker feel dumbfounded for a moment. Can't you just talk about something? Do you have to give me a good beating? But it was precisely because of this beating that Smoker realized his shortcomings and understood his direction. Smoker took a deep breath and said, thank you. Bai Ye looked at Smoker in astonishment. Good guy, this. Isn't this really going to knock me out? Chapter 27 Killing the Embryos. Advertise here. Those who participate in the Marine Elite Training Camp need to train briefly in Rogue Town for a period of time. Naturally, someone from Marine Headquarters will come to pick them up within a week. Bai Ye naturally does not need to participate in such relatively basic training. Such intensity of training has no effect on him at all and is just a waste of time. Regarding Bai Ye's special treatment, other soldiers only took it for granted. There is no way, who makes people strong. Perhaps the soldiers who had never seen the previous scene might have some complaints in their hearts. But none of the soldiers who had seen Bai Ye fight with Smoker felt that Bai Ye was pretending not to participate in the training. In order to eliminate the possible dissatisfaction of a small number of people, Colonel Smoker even said that as long as someone can defeat him like Yoruichi Shiro, then, he does not need to participate in training. Defeat Smoker. They can only entertain themselves a little bit about this kind of thing, but no one dares to challenge it. It's not like everyone is Bai Ye's monster. As a result, Bai Ye has become the most laid-back Marine in Rogue Town. Compared with the hard time of running around on the sea looking for pirates for a month before, now this life of just going out and eating when I have nothing to do is simply paradise. On this day, just as Bai Ye was about to go out again, Smoker suddenly came. Want to go out for a walk? I happen to have nothing to do today. Let me go out with you and be your guide. Since Bai Ye defeated Smoker, Smoker's attitude towards Bai Ye is no longer the previous attitude of his superiors towards his subordinates. The two now get along as equals. For a normal person, if he was defeated by his subordinates in front of his subordinates, and he did not look for opportunities to retaliate, he would be broad-minded. Smoker not only did not retaliate, but also treated Bai Ye as a friend. It is estimated that only an unusual character in Marine like Smoker can do such a thing. Bai Ye also has no ill feelings toward characters like Smoker. Whether it's from the original novel or from their interactions over the past few days, Smoker can bear the word justice. Under the leadership of Smoker, Bai Ye drank all the famous taverns in Rogue Town. The two of them went out early in the morning and drank until the sun went down before starting to walk back. There was no one in the square in Rogue Town that was originally bustling with people. There was only a tall execution platform. Under the bright moonlight, it cast a long shadow facing the direction of the Marine base. Smoker looked at the execution platform with drunken eyes and murmured, Bai Ye, what do you think Roger was thinking before he died? Bai Ye pouted and said, who knows what Roger is thinking? I'm not the roundworm in his stomach. 20 years ago, I saw with my own eyes the famous One Piece Roger being executed here, and heard him tell the news about One Piece before he died. Everyone who heard the news went crazy and rushed out to sea to find Roger's treasure. It was from this time on that the number of pirates on the sea increased dramatically, and vicious incidents occurred one after another. I saw the ugly appearance of people after losing their restraints. At the same time, I also had the idea of joining Marine to protect civilians. However, after first joined Marine, I discovered that Marine's justice is not exactly the justice I expected when I was a child. There are unspeakable ugliness among Marines. Some people even wear Marine skins and do things more disgusting than pirates, but I can't stop them. So I was confused. After graduating from the Marine Elite Training Camp, I took the initiative to apply to return to my hometown of Rog Town. At the very least, I want to use my own ability to protect my hometown from pirates. Quote. But the pirates seem to be endless. They kill a group today, a group tomorrow, and another group the day after tomorrow. I am really tired of killing. Listening to Smoker's words, Bai Ye had a complicated expression and couldn't help but sigh. Smoker really drank too much, and he really regarded himself as his friend, so he spoke his true feelings to himself. Over the years, he has indeed been too tired. Bai Ye said softly, as long as the greed in people's hearts does not disappear, people will continue to go to sea and become pirates. There is no way around it. Smoker put his head in his hands and said distressedly, is there really no way to stop it? Of course. Smoker's eyes lit up, and he grabbed Bai Ye's arm excitedly, what can I do? Bai Ye spat out a few words, kill them all. As soon as he finished speaking, Smoker suddenly felt a chill, as if the temperature dropped several degrees out of thin air. The biting cold made the drunk Smoker wake up instantly and hesitated, isn't this the method we should take now? Bai Ye shook his head and said, it's different. The methods used now are too gentle. Those big pirates who are captured are not killed, but they are still imprisoned in Impel Down City. Smoker argued, but this is because if you kill those big pirates, their devil fruit abilities will turn into devil fruits again and appear on the sea. If it was picked up by other pirates, it would probably cause big losses again. Quote. It will be dangerous if it is picked up by other pirates, but what if it is found by our Marine? Is it difficult to find the devil fruit with the strength of our Marine? Marine's current behavior is to stop eating because of choking. When he is worried that the enemy will become stronger, why doesn't he think about how to make himself stronger? Bai Ye's words made Smoker fall into deep thought. Although what Bai Ye said was good, such a move was a double-edged sword. If he didn't do it right, he could easily hurt himself. So what if it is really picked up by pirates? Laozi can kill the previous Esper of the fruit, so he will naturally be able to kill the next Esper. I want to see if we continue to kill like this, will those pirates still dare to eat the devil fruit after picking it up? Although Bai Ye's voice was not loud, it was like thunder exploding in Smoker's ears. That's right. How can you do things if you are always afraid of this and that? Laozi can kill your last one, so he can also kill your next one. If Marine finds this devil fruit first, it will enhance Marine's strength. Smoker said excitedly, what else? If there is anything else, the 4 pirate emperors of New World cannot handle it. As long as the 4 emperors exist, it is like setting an example for the pirates below and inspiring their desire to become pirates. Smoker said sadly, but the strength of the 4 emperors pirate group is too powerful, we can't handle it at all. Bai Ye secretly thought, it's hard to say whether he can't handle it or doesn't want to handle it. Chapter 28 I have never heard such a request in my life. Advertise here. Ding. Congratulations to host for having a huge impact on the thinking of the original character, Smoker, rewarded with world source power, 500 points. The system prompt that had not sounded for a long time sounded again. Is it okay to influence thoughts? Isn't this too abstract? In other words, Smoker is a relatively important character in the original work, so he can gain world power just by influencing his thoughts. Bai Ye's thinking is not unfounded, if we follow Garp and Roger's template. Smoker and Luffy are perfect replicas. In order to hunt down Luffy, Smoker even abandoned his hometown and went directly from the East China Sea to the New World. The official positions ranged from colonel in the branch to lieutenant general in the headquarters. The amount of Luffy's bounty has also increased from 30 million to 1.5 billion, and he is known as the 5th Emperor of the New World. It's a pity that this 5th Emperor is a false emperor, and was knocked back to his original shape by Kaido's stick. Of course, this is all for later. However, if such a method can be used to obtain world source power, Bai Ye can consider how to train his ventriloquism. When the time comes, just come to a group of Confucian scholars and brainwash a group of people, wouldn't that make a lot of money? ... Next day, early morning. After Bai Ye woke up, he opened the data panel. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Ye close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree, 10%. World source power, 515. Special skill, Imperial Engine. Fusion degree 10% 11%, it costs world source power, 400 points. It was a bit painful to increase the fusion level a little, leaving only 115 points of world source power, and suddenly became a pauper again. However, the effect was still very obvious. Bai Ye could clearly feel it, and he became stronger. I was thinking about exchanging characters from the store or opening a secondary exchange store. Now it seems like it's all a daydream. It's better to make yourself stronger first before considering these things. Bai Ye thought about it carefully, and now the only way to quickly obtain a large amount of world source power is to improve his military rank. Bang bang bang. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. Smoker's voice sounded outside the door. Bai Ye, are you awake? If so, let's fight again. Maybe Bai Ye's words last night successfully stimulated Smoker and made Smoker realize his shortcomings. So I came here early in the morning to fight Bai Ye. Bai Ye was playing the gate of opening. When he saw Smoker, who was a little excited, he said helplessly, I don't want to fight with someone like you. It's a waste of time and energy. Bai Ye doesn't know how to use hockey arms yet, and he doesn't have sea tower stone weapons. If you fight Smoker, you can only use up your stamina. If you don't have the time, you might as well take a nap. Smoker naturally understood what Bai Ye meant, and hurriedly patted his chest and promised, I promise not to use the fruit ability during the battle. Bai Ye asked suspiciously, don't use the fruit's ability. Yeah, I promise. Shiro Yoruichi looked at Smoker with disgust. You don't have any masochistic tendencies, do you? Smoker's face was covered with black lines, and white smoke began to emit from his head when he was so angry. Do you know how to speak? What does it mean to have masochistic tendencies? He simply wanted to train abilities other than fruits. Seeing that Smoker was getting angry, Bai Ye quickly agreed. If someone wants to be beaten, then he should be beaten. Anyway, it's not him who is hurting. On the training ground, the soldiers who were supposed to be training all gathered together and started talking in a hurry. I heard that Colonel Smoker is going to fight Bai Ye again. What's wrong with Colonel Smoker? He still fights even though he can't defeat him. That's right, he was beaten so badly by Bai Ye last time. Because of the mark on his abdomen, Colonel Smoker didn't unbutton his shirt for 3 days. I have been following Colonel Smoker for 3 years. The first time I saw Colonel Smoker buttoning up his shirt, I almost died of joy. The male soldier became happier and happier as he talked, with an indescribable expression on his face. Joy. Others around suddenly saw Smoker standing behind the soldier who was speaking, and the murderous intent was almost written on his face. Everyone immediately lowered their heads, fearing that they would be spotted by Smoker, but the soldier who spoke did not realize that the danger was coming. Seeing that no one was laughing, he was a little surprised and said, What? Don't you think it's funny? Anyway, I thought it was quite funny. I ate 2 extra bowls of the dinner that was given to me that day. Dark words popped out from Smoker's teeth. Mom, if it's really so funny, you'll have to eat more for dinner in the future. If you don't eat enough, you won't be able to sleep. Mom said miserably. Ah, Colonel Smoker. I was wrong. Sure enough, people all like to seek death. Mom is, and so is Smoker. One likes to talk nonsense, and the other likes to be beaten. Dasi-chi, lend me your knife. Oh, all right. Tashi awkwardly took off Komura Shiger from his waist and carefully placed it in Bai Ye's hand. Because Smoker's weapons are specially made of sea stone, their hardness is far beyond that of ordinary weapons. Shiyeyu is one of the 50 good swordsmen, and its own hardness is no worse than that of Halu stone, so Bai Ye borrows the knife from Daski. Rub. The sound of the long knife rubbing against the scabbard is very pleasant. The blade is cold, the blade is too thin, and the overall look is slightly delicate. At first glance, it is a knife for women. Smoker held 10 hands and said in a deep voice, Bai, attack me. Bai Ye sighed. It was the first time that someone had made such a mean request, and it seemed that it would be impossible not to satisfy him. Then be careful. Before Byakuya finished speaking, he appeared in front of Smoker, holding Komura Shiger with one hand, and slashed hard. Without using the fruit's ability, Smoker couldn't dodge at all, so he had to barely raise his hands to parry. Bang! A huge force was transmitted from the 10 hands to Smoker's arm. The terrifying power made Smoker unable to parry, and the weapon came out directly. Smoker's entire figure seemed to be embedded on the ground, with only his upper body exposed, which was very miserable. Daski, who was watching the battle from the sidelines, rubbed his eyes and put on his glasses again, only to find that the scene in front of him had not changed. Colonel Smoker couldn't even catch White Yoruichi without using his fruit ability. It didn't seem so bad last time, right? Smoker's head was dizzy and he said in disbelief, this guy's strength seems to have become stronger again. His speed seems to have become faster. How is this possible? It's only been a few days. The scene of being beaten last time is still vivid in my mind. Is the gap between people really that big? Looking at Bai Ye's young face, he looked at himself, who was already nearly 30 years old. Smoker momentarily had the idea of burrowing into the soil and never coming out again. Chapter 29 Make a Fortune. Bai Ye knelt down and asked with a smile on his face, do you still want to fight? Smoker said decisively, fight. Of course we have to fight. After Bai Ye leaves, where can he find someone as strong as Bai Yoruichi in the East China Sea? Wouldn't it be a loss if we don't take advantage of this opportunity to play more games? And after Bai Ye said those words to Smoker last night, Smoker felt that Bai Ye must not be a simple person. So young, but possessing great strength. And in just a few days, his strength has improved a lot, and he is extremely talented. The most important thing is that Bai Ye's words are very pleasing to his own taste, which makes his blood that had been silent ignited again. Thinking back to his childhood dreams, Smoker suddenly had an idea. White Knight, what are you doing? Don't you want to be beaten? If you don't want to be beaten, then I'll go back to sleep. Bai Ye returned the knife to Daski and walked towards the dormitory. Smoker said in a serious tone, Bai Ye, can you end the era of great pirates? Can the age of great pirates be ended? How is it over? Is it over when all the pirates are killed? If the pirates are gone, there will still be Tianlong people. I can't predict the future, how do I know? I just know that if I become stronger now, at least I won't die at the hands of others in the future. Bai Ye looked at the embarrassed Smoker curiously. Based on his years of experience in reading online articles, he probably guessed what Smoker was thinking. You want to follow me? Smoker nodded, that was indeed what he thought. Don't be ridiculous, you are a colonel and I am a lieutenant. There is a 6-level difference between us. But for you, isn't it just a matter of 1 or 2 years? Bai Ye is speechless, co-authored by You know better than me when I can become a colonel. Bai Ye counted on his fingers, then there are still big problems between us. For example, you are already 32 years old, and I am only 18 years old this year. I have just grown up, but I am actually still a child. Quote. Smoker and Dasky beside him had black lines on their faces. If possible, they really wanted to kill Bai Ye. So damn infuriating. After the teasing was over, Bai Ye stopped stimulating the two of them and agreed to Smoker's request. This thing is promised without losing a piece of meat. If Bai Ye is unhappy at Marine in the future, he will be treated unfairly. Directly leading a large group of Marines to rebel and counterattack Marineland, the scene must be beautiful. Ding. Congratulations to the host for gaining the following of the original character, Smoker, and the reward is 1500 points of world source power. Listening to the system prompt that suddenly sounded in his mind, Bai Ye's eyes were about to burst into flames when he looked at Smoker. 1500 points. I have never made such a windfall since I obtained the system. Although it has only been a short month since Bai Ye activated the system. But this is an unimaginable huge amount of money for Bai Ye now. If Smoker were a beauty, Bai Ye would have wanted to hug him and kiss him a few times. Under Bai Ye's gaze, Smoker felt an inexplicable chill in his lower body in the soil. He wouldn't do anything to me while I couldn't move, would he? Out of self-preservation, Smoker said awkwardly, can you pull me out first? I can't move. Bai Ye looked at Smoker as if he were an idiot. Aren't you a smoker with the smoke fruit ability? Didn't you turn into smoke yourself and come out? Oh yes, I almost forgot, I thought I still couldn't use the fruit ability. Quote. Watching Smoker turn into smoke and come out with a happy look on his face. Bai Ye put his hand on his forehead. He felt a headache now. He suddenly felt that the 1,500 points of world source power were actually the system's fee for being a wet nurse because the child Smoker had a cerebellum problem. Thinking about it, Bai Ye turned his attention to Dasky beside him. 2. Take care of, Smoker, the system gave me 1,500 points of world source power. Although Dashy's role in the original work is not much, it should be quite important because she looks like Zoro's childhood friend. Then by taking care of Dasky, the system should also give me a lot of world power, right? In fact, I don't care even if Bai Ye is missing. Who doesn't want to take care of a beautiful sister? Taking care of my sister is everyone's responsibility. Love does not depend on the resources in the world. Bai Ye's consciousness is so high. Being stared at by Bai Ye's hot eyes, Dasky froze. For a moment, she imagined all kinds of embarrassing plots in her mind, and her face turned red. The atmosphere was somewhat ambiguous for a while. Smoker noticed the appearance of the two of them and felt like a big 500-watt light bulb, which was very annoying. After an unknown amount of time, Smoker couldn't help but said, how about I leave first and you guys wait and see. Under Bai Ye's gaze, Dasky's face turned red to her ears, and her chin was so low that it could no longer be lowered. There is no way, her own strength does not allow her to be so low anymore. Dasky was shy and didn't say a word, while Bai Ye was wondering why the system didn't prompt Dasky to follow. To be fair, Dasky is Smoker's adjutant, and Smoker has followed him, so why doesn't Dasky count? Do you need me to do anything else? Bai Ye looked at Dasky with even deeper eyes. There is something about this system. Seeing that the two ignored him, Smoker was afraid of disturbing the harmonious atmosphere between Bai Ye and Dasky. When he was at a loss what to do, Smoker suddenly thought of what Bai Ye had said before. Yes, I am a user with the ability of the smoke fruit. I can use the fruit's abilities. Smoker silently used elementalization, and his whole body completely turned into smoke, and quietly left the playground with the breeze. When Bai Ye came back to his senses, he looked around and saw that Smoker had already disappeared without a trace. Hey, where's the Smoker? Suddenly hearing Bai Ye's voice, Dasky's face was so red that it started to bleed. She screamed and ran outside in a hurry. Due to too much panic, Dasky accidentally dropped her glasses. As a severely short-sighted person, the things in front of her eyes were blurry, but she was not shy to look back and pick up her glasses, so she could only rely on her memory and ran to the door. Hey, Dasky, your glasses fell off. Bai Ye picked up the glasses and shouted, stop running. Stop. Hearing Bai Ye's words, Dasky ran faster, as if there was a hungry wolf chasing her behind her, running forward regardless. Bai Ye kindly reminded, there is a wall in front of you. It's a pity that I reminded you a little late. Bang. Dasky hit her head on the wall and fainted. Looking at the 3 pits printed on the wall, Bai Ye shook his head and sighed. Tisk, tisk, the poor wall has suffered an unreasonable disaster. I really don't know why this little girl runs so fast. Chapter 30 Huge Improvement. In Rogue Town, a week passed quickly. Early this morning, Smoker had informed Bai Ye that a Marine headquarters ship would arrive at noon to pick them up. Through Smoker, Bai Ye learned that elite training camps are usually held every 3 years, and the number of people in each session is about 500. Marine headquarters itself occupies about 300 places, and the other 200 places are allocated by Shihai Marine. On average, there are 50 spots per Marine. The total number of soldiers selected from Donghai Marine to participate in the elite training camp is less than 40. It doesn't even reach the average, which shows that Donghai Marine's strength is indeed generally poor. But there is nothing we can do about it. The East China Sea pirates are also weak, so the Marine soldiers have not grown relatively well. Now, coupled with Byakuya's troubles in the East China Sea, before Luffy goes to sea, the East China Sea Marines will probably have a lot of time to spare. At noon, Smoker took all the people participating in the elite training camp to the port to wait. Bai Ye said softly, Smoker, you have to train hard while I'm away, and don't let go of your abilities in fruit development. If your strength is still so bad after I graduate, then you should stay in Rogtown to retire. Quote. Smoker kept nodding like a chicken eating rice, and kept promising, don't worry, I will definitely strengthen my exercise. And little Dusky, you too. Hearing Bai Ye's name, Dasky blushed and said shyly, I will do it, Lord Bai Ye. I can rest assured that. While the 3 of them were talking, they saw a ship sailing on the sea. The sails were printed with a seagull holding a scale in its mouth, which symbolized the maintenance of world peace and order and was particularly conspicuous. But what is more eye-catching is that at the bow of the ship is a funny-looking pug holding a bone. This surprised Bai Ye. Didn't they send someone from Marine headquarters to pick them up? How did it come to be Garp? Shouldn't this old guy be chasing the red-haired pirates? When the ship docked and Garp got off the ship, Smoker was surprised and said, Lieutenant General Garp, you will be the one to pick me up this time. It turns out to be Smoker. Smoker graduated from the elite training camp, and was the first to graduate in the same period. He is also somewhat famous in Marine headquarters, and Garp naturally knows him. Why are you still serving as a branch colonel in Rog Town? Garp asked puzzledly, the pirates in the East China Sea are so weak. It's a complete waste of time for you to stay here. There was a hint of hatred in Garp's words. After all, Smoker is a user with smoke fruit ability. Even if it cannot compare with the fruits of the 3 generals, it is still a stronger existence among devil fruits. Instead of going to the New World to shine, stay in the East China Sea and become a little colonel. No, after you go back this time, I will ask Sengguo to transfer you to the New World. Faced with Garp's words, Smoker could only smile bitterly and nod. Garp's few words completely changed Smoker's future path. No one will question the authenticity of Garp's words. As a Marine hero, Garp has a greater say in Marine than the general, but he is usually too lazy to take care of things. Are these Marine soldiers selected from the East China Sea? Garp watched them one by one. Almost all the soldiers who were watched by Garp felt honored and adjusted to the best mental state. This is a living legend. Whether it's chasing One Piece Roger, or joining forces with the Warring States period to imprison the Golden Lion into Impel Down City. Whichever one you pick out is enough to shock the entire sea. Such a legendary figure actually came to pick them up in person, how could they not be excited? Under Garp's gaze, Bai Ye was unmoved, but felt a little guilty in her heart. This can't help but feel guilty. A few days ago, I was planning to kill my grandson. Now that I have met the real owner, I naturally have to keep a low profile so as not to attract Garp's attention. Garp praised, very good, worthy of being the elite of Donghai Marine. I hope that after you arrive at Marine headquarters, you can train hard and contribute to protecting the people. 37 Marine soldiers shouted, for justice. Bai Ye spoke as well, subconsciously wanting to shout, for freedom, but fortunately he reacted quickly and changed his words in time, otherwise he would have become a part of the drama. Okay, Smoker, let's go first. That old guy from the Warring States period treated me as free labor and arranged a lot of things for me. I'm really too busy. Ahem. Ahem. Bogart on the side almost coughed out his lungs just to remind Garp that there were other soldiers here. What are you talking about? It's good that Lousy didn't scold him in front of the soldiers. Shouldn't he call him an old man? Bogart could only smile helplessly, you are always casual and happy as you please. The soldiers around were shocked when they heard Garp's words. You called Sengoku Fleet Admiral an old guy. Isn't this considered a curse? So what would it be like to really scold? ... Smoker and Dusky stood on the shore, watching Garp's battleship gradually move away. The two looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. Finally sent that guy away. Recalling the torture these days, both Smoker and Dasky regretted seeing Bai Ye. Smoker gritted his teeth and said, this guy also said that I have masochistic tendencies. I think he has sadistic tendencies. Colonel Smoker, do we really have to go find Mr. Bai Ye after he graduates? Smoker hesitated for a long time and said painfully, it's better to go, otherwise when he comes to us, it will be really over. And Bai Ye also missed Smoker and Dasky on the ship. With this departure, there are 2 less people who can refresh the world's source power, which is really heartbreaking. While still in Rog Town, Bai Ye successfully captured Dasky and received a reward of 1,400 world source power points, which was a little less than Smoker, but it was enough. Bai Ye also figured out how to achieve the conditions for following. To put it simply, it is to brainwash first and let others agree with your point of view and think you are right. Secondly, by relying on your own personality charm, you can make others feel that they can only achieve their ideals by following you. Only when these 2 points are achieved can the requirement of following be fulfilled. And through these few days, Bai Ye also discovered another way to obtain world source power. As the follower's strength increases, he also receives a small amount of world source power as a reward. So these days, he practices Smoker and Dasky a lot. Although the amount given is not much, only 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, but no matter how small the mosquito is, it is still meat. This made Smoker and Dasky want to take a detour when they saw Bai Ye. Bai Ye opened the current properties panel. It's very strong. I'm very satisfied. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Ye close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree. 17%. World source power. 3. Special skill. Imperial Engine, Chapter 31 Camp Entry Test. Advertise here. Along the way, Bai Ye finally saw Garp's ferocity. He always keeps 2 boxes of cannonballs by his side, and when he sees a pirate ship while sailing, he will be struck by a fist and a meteorite. Manually thrown bombs are more powerful than bombs fired from the main guns of warships. Based on the level of pirates in the first half of the Grand Line, almost none could withstand a shot in front of Garp. Seeing the pirate group destroyed along the way, Bai Ye felt extremely distressed. This was the source of the world's power. I wish I could pick up the cannonballs next to Garp and throw a few more myself. It's a pity that Bai Ye doesn't dare to reveal his full strength now. Although Garp pretends to be careless on the surface, he actually knows his calculations better than anyone else. Otherwise, how could he still thrive in Marine when his son was the leader of the Revolutionary Army? If it arouses Garp's suspicion and connects Bai Ye with the strong man who dueled with the red-haired Momentum a few days ago, it will be troublesome for Bai Ye to explain. When he entered Marine's headquarters, Marineland, Byakuya truly understood Garp's prestige in Marine. Marine headquarters is such a tight place that even the ship of the Vice Admiral of the headquarters will be stopped for inspection. But none of the soldiers said they wanted to check Garp's ship, and the green light allowed it to pass without any obstruction. All Marines who see Garp, even if they are Lieutenant General of the headquarters, must perform a military salute and respectfully call Lieutenant General Garp. Garp, on the other hand, greeted everyone with a smile and seemed amiable. Finally arrived at the destination, behind the Marine headquarters, the elite training camp. Finally we've arrived. This is where you need to stay for 3 years. Garp led Shiro Yoruichi to a place similar to the Marine branch base. At the playground at the door, hundreds of soldiers were already waiting, and all the young elite soldiers of Marine from all over the world were gathered here. Garp stood at the door and shouted, "Zephyr, I sent your students over to you." A man with purple hair and a build similar to Garp walked out of the crowd. "Why is it you who picked him up?" "Don't mention it, it's all a bunch of nonsense that guy from the Warring States period arranged for me. I still have things to deal with." Zephyr and Garp were Marines in the same issue, and they had a very good relationship, and they exchanged a few words. Zephyr glanced briefly and asked, "Are these your soldiers from the East China Sea? Are these the ones who passed the selection?" Forehead. Garp looked embarrassed. He was originally from Donghai. Donghai was his hometown, and he had some affinity with the soldiers in Donghai. Now that Zephyr said this, he felt a little shameless. However, Garp rolled his eyes and suddenly thought of something, and quietly said to Zephyr, "Although we don't have many people in the East China Sea, there is a good seedling inside, called Bai Ye. I heard that Bai Yoruichi personally defeated more than a dozen pirate groups in the East China Sea. He deserves to be cultivated." Garp still heard some rumors during his time in the East China Sea. Just through these days of observation, Garp didn't find anything unusual about Bai Ye. "I thought it might be a rumor, so I didn't pay much attention to it." In his opinion, as for the pirates in the East China Sea, he could stab a whole boat of people to death with one finger. What's so strong about defeating the pirates in the East China Sea? It was only when Zephyr said this that I remembered that there was a person named Bai Ye. But if he knew that when Byakuya defeated those pirate groups, although it was not so exaggerated as to use only one finger, it was just a few punches. I probably won't have such thoughts anymore. After listening to Garp's words and looking at Garp's unconfident expression, Zephyr knew that this White Knight was probably what Garp said on purpose. Why did you defeat more than a dozen pirate groups alone? If you really have this ability, why would you come to the Marine Elite Training Camp? Playing house. It is estimated that this so-called pirate group is a pirate group where a few strong people go to sea together. It's hard to say whether the whole group's bounty amount is 1 million Baileys. For a pirate group like this, any Marine headquarters soldier selected from the scene can do it. What's there to brag about in this White Knight? But Zephyr also knew that Garp said this to save face. As a good brother, he did not expose Garp, but smiled and nodded. After sending Garp away, the smile on Zephyr's face faded. All the soldiers will line up according to the sea area they came from. Shihai plus Marine Headquarters, there are 5 teams in total. With this look, Bai Ye knew the difference between the East China Sea and the other seas. Needless to say, there is no need to say more about the Marine Headquarters. There are more than 300 people, and it looks dark from the top down. Even South Blue, the second worst team, had more than 50 people. There are only a pitiful 37 people on the East China Sea side, and the team is much shorter than other teams. The soldiers on the East China Sea side all know Bai Ye's strength, so they naturally let Bai Ye stand at the head of the team. Zephyr ordered the instructor beside him, since everyone is here, let's take them for testing first. Then he thought about it and said, let the soldiers in Donghai conduct the final test to let them know how big the gap is between themselves and other soldiers. Looking at the test results of Donghai soldiers in the past years, instructor can imagine that after seeing the results of other soldiers, Donghai soldiers could not hide themselves in shame. It is estimated that during the test, it will not be able to display its normal strength. Instructor hesitated for a while and couldn't bear to say, isn't this too cruel? Zephyr said, it's just to let them recognize themselves in advance, so as not to think that the pirates on the Grand Line are as weak as the pirates in the East China Sea. If we are not cruel to them, do you expect the pirates to be merciful to them after graduation? It's just a shame now, but it will be a loss of life in the future. Since his wife and children were killed by pirates, General Zephyr's idea of not killing has completely changed. Nearly 600 people followed the instructor to the training hall. The entire space was extremely spacious, with a height of more than 10 meters and could accommodate all the soldiers. There are 5 testing machines lined up on one side of the hall, which are similar to boxing strength testing machines. The target is made of special metal and is connected to an LCD display. It is said that this was developed by scientist Vegapunk. Each of you punch the target with all your strength in turn, and the strength of your punch will be displayed on the display, starting with the soldiers from Marine Headquarters. Several people on the Donghai side began to chat quietly, asking each other about their test scores. Bai Ye, what was your original test score? Test? What test? Why haven't I heard of a test? Didn't you pass the test? Then how did you get selected? I killed a pirate with a reward of 15 million, and then I was selected. Chapter 32 It is our duty to safeguard the glory of the East China Sea. Advertise here. Because the story behind Dolly Lee does not appear, the values here are only calculated in kilograms. Titus, 330 kilograms, next. Harris, 364 kilograms, next. Quote. Suddenly there was an exclamation from the crowd. Quick, 532 kilograms. Not bad, 40 kilograms more than before. Instructor looked at the sturdy soldier in front of him and smiled and nodded. F***KOOO. 532 kilograms, this is too strong. My 2 punches combined are not as high as his punch. As expected of a soldier selected by Marine Headquarters, he is so strong. Soldiers from other sea areas sighed. Because there are 5 boxing strength testing machines, the testing speed is very fast. After a while, the soldiers from the Marine Headquarters were tested. Next, it was the turn of the North Blue soldiers, the strongest in the world, to be tested. Although North Blue soldiers are not as strong as Marine Headquarters soldiers, they are generally pretty good. There are even a few outstanding soldiers who weigh more than 300 kilograms, while others are basically around 270 to 280 kilograms. The overall strength of West Blue and South Blue is not much different, and their values are basically above 240 kilograms. Next, only the soldiers from Donghai were left. At this time, Bai Ye was thinking about how strong he should be for testing. Should he follow the counterattack style of loser, or should he follow the style of supreme genius? After much deliberation, Bai Ye decided that it would be better to follow the counterattack trend. Think about it, how inspiring it is for a weak Donghai soldier to gradually grow from weak to strong in the Marine Elite training camp. This kind of growth curve is softer and easier for others to accept. By then, there may be many Marine soldiers who were moved by his experience and willing to follow him. As for the contempt from others when she pretended to be weak, Bai Ye didn't care at all. Don't listen to these words too much in the 3 years since he didn't activate the system. This is called pretending to be a pig, eating the tiger, and making a fortune in silence. The other Donghai soldiers saw that Bai Ye did not take action, but the instructor had already begun to urge. So he quickly stepped forward to test it. Under the slightly joking gazes of other soldiers, the Donghai soldiers stepped forward to perform the test as if it were an execution ground. Daniel took a few deep breaths and managed to calm down his nervousness. Punch with all your strength at the target in front of you. 168 kilograms, next one. Instructor sighed inconspicuously. Compared with soldiers in the East China Sea, the gap was indeed too big. At 168 kilograms, I am not as tall as a female soldier like me. No, can someone with such strength come to the Marine training camp? Are Donghai's selection standards too low? Understand, we come here because there are only so many places, and they come here because they only have so many people. When Daniel heard the words of the people around him, his face was filled with shame. His strength was not limited to this. At the first selection, I weighed 200 kilograms. It's just that on such an occasion, he was too nervous and performed abnormally. 172 kilograms, next one. 200 kilograms, next one. As the test results came out one by one, the other soldiers' disdain became louder and louder. The soldiers who had finished the test stood there with their heads lowered, looking at Bai Ye from time to time. The soldiers who went up to test it also looked at Bai Ye for a few times before going up to test it. Bai Ye was shocked when he saw their reactions. What do you all see me doing? You don't want me to go up there and shock the whole audience, right? The reason why Bai Ye waited until the end to take action was to observe everyone's average strength first. It's not a good thing to show one's own strength too low. It is more reliable to take a value that is in the middle. Bai Ye, Donghai can only rely on you. Show your true strength and earn back your face. We believe in you. With your strength, you will definitely be able to blind them. Faced with their trust, Bai Ye felt like crying without tears. What are you doing? I don't want to act cool, I just want to act like a loser. Just as the people in the day and night were fighting, the system prompt suddenly rang. Congratulations to host for stimulating random tasks, winning first place in the camp entry test. Complete the task to get 200 points of world source power. Close black lens bracket. I went and the system spoke. I'm just pretending to be cool. In front of the world's source of power, all the useless counterattacks and pretending to be pigs to eat tigers are all forgotten. Just do it and it's done. Bai Ye looked at the expectant eyes of everyone and said firmly, don't worry, we are duty-bound to safeguard the glory of the East China Sea. The soldiers watching nearby also saw the Donghai soldiers frequently looking at Bai Ye, and couldn't help but guess. What do you think is going on over there in the East China Sea? They always watch what the person in front is doing. Is it because he looks handsome? The female soldier said infatuatedly, you are indeed so handsome. A strong man next to him said jealously, what's the use of being handsome? He's handsome but can't be eaten. Judging from his physique, it would be difficult to lift 150 kilograms. Soon it was Bai Ye's turn to take the stage. When Bai Ye came on the field, it was obvious that the momentum of the Donghai soldiers had completely changed. No longer as low as before. Everyone seemed to be expecting something to happen. Even the instructor was a little confused by the contrast between the Donghai soldiers before and after. Someone reasonably speculated, could it be that this person is the strongest among the soldiers in the East China Sea, so they are looking forward to it so much? The companion retorted, what's the use of being the strongest in the East China Sea? Who among us is not the strongest in the East China Sea? Quick on the side said impatiently, shut your mouths. You'll know after reading this. Seeing that Kuike had spoken, the others had no choice but to mute their voices and watch Bai Ye's performance quietly. Bai Ye, who appeared on the stage at this time, was like a big star that attracted everyone's attention. Nearly 600 people looked at him intently. Bai Ye came to the test machine, feeling the hot gaze from behind, and murmured, since you want to pretend to be B, then brother, I will pretend to be big for you, and scare you to death. Bai Ye made a fist with his right hand, pointed it at the target, slowly straightened it, and suddenly stopped when he was still 2 centimeters away from the target. The thumb rests on the middle finger, and the other 3 fingers are straight. Everyone was confused by Bai Ye's actions. What does this guy want to do? A brother with a clear mind asked, are you trying to hit a target with your head spinning? This big brother really guessed it right. The middle finger suddenly popped out, and in the blink of an eye, there was even a deafening sound of air explosion. Bang! The target that had been tested by many people and was still, unscathed, suddenly dented like plasticine. The next moment, everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost. Under the terrifying force, the entire test machine flew backwards for dozens of meters, and then hit the wall, leaving a deep hole. Oops, it seems like I used a little too much force. Pretend to be like the wind, always with me. Chapter 33 Garp will not deceive me. Advertise here. Everyone looked at Bai Ye with monster eyes, and knocked the punch test machine away so far with one finger. Is this Nima still a person? If this hits someone. Gee, that scene must be very bloody. Thinking about being a student for 3 years with such a person, a group of people couldn't help but feel despair. Then for the past 3 years, I had to be suppressed by him without even a chance to stand up. Especially Quick, who had performed the most outstandingly before. He thought he was the best among this class of students. And in order to compete for first place in the same period, he still has some trump cards that he has not yet used. Now it seems there is no need to use it at all. Go home, it's all over. Quick has begun to think about whether to ask Zephyr to drop out of school and wait until Bai Ye graduates before being selected for the elite training camp. There is no way, as the number 1 in the Marine elite training camp in the same period, he will be equipped with a separate warship when he graduates. Generally, this is a treatment only for lieutenant generals. Only a very small number of major generals can enjoy this special treatment. Most of the first graduates in the same period will be awarded the rank of Major General. Therefore, students in each period will work hard to be number 1 in the same period. People like Smoker didn't realize it, and those who took the initiative to apply to return to their hometown to become a colonel were special cases. Instructor looked at Bai Ye leaving gracefully and felt dumbfounded. This, how should I record my grades? Is it possible to remember? A boxing strength testing machine. In the following tests, Bai Yoruichi refreshed everyone's understanding again and again. Whether it's weightlifting, speed testing, or other physical fitness tests, Bai Ye's results are among the best in the entire camp. And it can beat the second place by a huge margin. Finally, the instructor finished recording the results and his whole body was in a sluggish state. He even began to have self-doubt. With my strength, am I really worthy of being Bai Ye's instructor? How about letting him be my instructor? By the end of the test, everyone was already numb. Even when instructor announced its disbandment, everyone still looked stupid and turned a deaf ear. Even the soldiers in Donghai are no longer as excited as before. They only know that Bai Ye is very strong and can defeat Colonel Smoker. But they didn't expect Bai Ye to be so strong. Moreover, Bai Ye's B is only 18 years old, while some of them are already nearly 30. Doesn't this allow people to live? Instructor went to Zepha's office holding the report card of the test just now. This is Zepha's personal habit. After the camp entry test is completed, a suitable training plan will be tailored according to each soldier's situation. After all, everyone has a different starting point, and the joint training method is not suitable for everyone. Zepha raised his eyes and saw that something was wrong with instructor's expression. After receiving the transcript, he casually asked, "Why is his expression so ugly? Are the results of this entrance test very bad?" Zepha opened the report card and looked at it from front to back. "These are not bad. Yo, this quick is pretty good, we can focus on training him." After reading all the results outside the East China Sea, Zepha showed a smile on his face. The strength of this class of students is pretty good. After they graduate, they will be able to provide Marine with a group of manpower. As for Donghai's report card, Zepha only looked at the first two and lost interest in reading any more. Zepha shook his head and sighed. Oh, the Marines in Donghai have been getting worse and worse over the years. If this continues, the number of places in Donghai should really be reduced. General Instructor, I suggest you look back, maybe you will get unexpected surprises. Quote? Zepha looked confused. A surprise from the East China Sea. Instructor was somewhat looking forward to Zepha's expression when he saw Bai Ye's results. Although Zepha didn't understand what instructor meant, he still looked down. With results like this, can you still surprise me? Until Zepha turned to Bai Ye's report card and stood up from his chair. All test scores ranked first. Instructor Cook, can you explain to me what a boxing strength testing machine is? Cook told the story exactly as it happened. 1. Flicked away with one finger. The boxing strength testing machine is a relatively rare instrument in Marine, so its hardness is undeniable. Even Major General Marine can use the test machine to test his own strength. But Bai Ye actually flicked it away with just one finger. Zepha suddenly thought of what Garp said to him before he left. Bai Ye once single-handedly defeated more than a dozen pirate groups in the East China Sea. Before, he thought Garp was bragging and wanted to save himself some face. Or maybe these dozen pirate groups are all low-class pirates. But who would have thought that Bai Ye's strength would be so strong? Zepha murmured, Garp, you won't deceive me. This kid is really here to play house. Regarding Bai Ye's achievements in killing more than a dozen pirate groups, Bai Ye did not ask Smoker to report it. Because of his achievements in solving these pirates, Bai Ye could be transformed from a lieutenant to a lieutenant colonel at most, or a colonel at most. Not even the brigadier's sides could be reached. And if Bai Ye ranks first in the same period, he can become a major at worst. So Bai Ye really didn't pay much attention to those achievements and just let Smoker handle it by himself. Cook said, General Instructor Zepha, I should lead them to train tomorrow. But does this guy Bai Ye really need to be trained? I feel that if he is thrown into the new world, he can survive. Zepha understood the meaning of Cook's words. Isn't it funny if you ask a weak person to train a strong person? Okay, I will personally lead Bai Ye's training from now on, and you can just take care of the other students. Cook couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief after hearing this. He was really afraid that he would get into trouble with Bai Ye when he was training Bai Ye. What would he do if Bai Ye gave him a finger? He doesn't think his bones are harder than a boxing strength testing machine. The next day, Bai Ye has already learned that he does not need to train with other students. This didn't surprise him at all. Geniuses would receive special treatment there. It doesn't matter whether this genius is cheating or not. A boxing strength testing machine costs 50 million belly, and the cost of repairing the walls of the training room is 20 million berry, a total of 70 million berry. I hope you can repay this fee as soon as possible. Quote. This was the first time Bai Ye saw Zepha, and the first words Zepha said. Just such a sentence made Bai Ye want to drop out of school. This is a training camp for Hammer. Is this a black shop? You didn't mention this to me when you asked me to test it. Bai Ye tried to argue. Zepha instructor, isn't this unreasonable? Zepha looked at the slightly naive Bai Ye in front of him and smiled slightly. In the training camp, what I said is the truth. Okay, you are awesome, I will accept the money. When Lousy finishes learning what he needs to learn, there will always be times when you, the old guy, will cry. Chapter 34 The Omnipotent World Source Power. In the entire Marine, in terms of teaching level, Zepha can be ranked in the top 2. If you don't count Cyborg Sora, former Marine Fleet Admiral and current Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Services, Zepha is number 1. No one will question this. After all, Zepha taught the 3 current Marine generals. At least one-third of Marine's middle and high-level cadres have received Zephyr's teachings. It's just that in the plot version, Zephyr is a tragic character. He dedicated his life to Marine, but was betrayed by Marine, and even died at the hands of his former apprentice Kizaru. It makes people sigh. The reason why Bai Ye is willing to come to Marine Elite Training Camp has something to do with Zephyr's teaching level. He wants to learn the 6 Marine styles and 2-color hockey from Zephyr. Taking a closer look at the powerful people in the pirate world, whether they are devil fruit users or not, their strength is related to their own strength. There is no mention of people with very strong fruit development and extremely weak physical fitness. This is especially true for the pirates' 4 emperors, each of whom has the same physical fitness as a monster. Every time Bai Ye improves his fusion degree, he strengthens his physical fitness, which is equivalent to laying a solid foundation. But he still needs a way to perfectly utilize this foundation. Teacher Saitama doesn't need it because he is too strong. No enemy can stop him from giving a serious punch. But Bai Ye hasn't reached this level yet, he has only integrated 17% of the template. Based on his contacts with various powerful people these days, Bai Ye has a rough understanding of his own strength. He should be at the level of Marine's top lieutenant general, barely able to compete with a general. Such strength is naturally invincible in the East China Sea, but there are too many strong men in the New World. Based on his personality, he might end up in front of the 4 emperors one day. So in order to be able to live happily in the New World, Bai Ye strives to squeeze dry Zephyr. Zephyr instructor, what should I learn today? Let's start with the most basic 6 marine poses. Today I'll teach you moonwalk, one of the 6 poses. Zephyr looked at Bai Ye, with indescribable joy in his eyes. Strong people like Zephyr who don't rely on fruit abilities like Bai Ye the most, who are extremely physically strong but don't have fruit abilities. This is simply the most perfect student in his mind. The Marine 6th style is not a bad thing in Marine. Basically only general level Marines can perform it, and not everyone can fully learn the 6 moves. Zephyr explained, moonwalk uses strong foot power to step on the air to generate strong air holding force. It can walk in the air like stepping on stairs, but it cannot stay in the air for too long. But this is for ordinary people. As long as you have enough physical strength, you can always be in the sky. Of course, this is just talk, after all, no one's physical strength is unlimited. With that said, Zephyr performed moonwalk himself and asked Bai Ye to learn it carefully. I saw Zephyr stretching out his foot a little in the air, as if he were stepping on a real object, and his whole body flew directly into the air. And it can move freely in the air and is very flexible. What you need to pay attention to is the force exerted by your steps. The force does not need to be too big, nor is it too small. The force should be just enough to make you fly into the air. Zephyr demonstrated moonwalk a few more times, and then asked Bai Ye to try it. Bai Ye followed Zephyr's demonstration and stepped down with his feet in the air. His whole body was like a rocket, soaring into the sky. There were clear footprints on the ground. After a while, Bai Ye fell from the sky. Seeing Bai Ye's embarrassed look, Zephyr had a smile on his lips, but did not speak. Moonwalk is not something that can only be learned by the stronger you are. It is a special way of exerting force that requires skills. Bai Ye calmed down, remembered the lesson learned last time, stretched out his feet in the air and stepped down again. Because there is too little effort, nothing happens. Zephyr looked at Bai Ye's frustrated look and said with a smile, don't be discouraged. Moonwalk is not that easy to learn. It is quite troublesome to learn at the beginning. When Garp and I first learned moonwalk, it took us nearly a month to get started. So there's nothing to rush about. Just as Bai Ye was pondering moonwalk's skills, the system's notification sound suddenly sounded in his mind. Ding. Congratulations to host for activating the skill, moonwalk. Do you want to learn it? Close black lens bracket. Is there anyone who doesn't want to learn from this? Learn decisively. Special skills. Imperial Engine, Moonwalk LV1+. Level 1 is the most basic level, which is what Zephyr calls the beginning state. Bai Ye saw a plus sign behind the skill and tried it with doubts. Then I heard the system prompt, do you choose to use world source power to improve skill proficiency? Close black lens bracket. Damn it, can world source force still play like this? Bai Ye originally thought that it would take at least half a year to complete the 6 movements. This is when he is relatively confident in his talent. But who would have thought that with the system, the biggest cheating device, you can start learning the 6 styles instantly, and even your proficiency is taken into consideration. It's really considerate. Bai Ye tried to spend a little of the world's energy. Moonwalk skill proficiency increased by 10%, current level LV1 to 10%. Some skills about moonwalk suddenly appeared in my mind. Although there were not many, they also played a big role for Bai Ye, who was just getting started. Bai Ye couldn't help but be overjoyed. Moonwalk was still very useful to him. After all, he is not a Logia Devil Fruit user, so he cannot fly in the sky for a long time. The emergence of Moonwalk has greatly enhanced both pursuit and flexibility. Look at Big Mom, who is the Pirate Emperor. Because she can't fly, she was kicked down the waterfall many times after losing Prometheus. Even if there were no injuries, the 4 Emperors' face would have been completely lost. Bai Ye tried to upgrade Moonwalk to the 2nd level. To improve the proficiency, he would need 2 points of world source power. After trying it one by one, Bai Ye learned Moonwalk to the 4th level, spending a total of 150 points of world source power. Bai Ye felt that although his attainments in Moonwalk were not as good as Zephy's, he was considered top-notch among Marine Lieutenant Generals. Zephyr instructor, can you see if there is anything wrong with the Moonwalk I used now? Zephyr chuckled and said, okay, feel free to use it, I will point out your shortcomings. Bai Ye stepped lightly on the void with his toes, rising into the sky like a sharp arrow from a string. Zephyr looked up at the white knight disappearing into the sky, and couldn't help but laugh. Young people are just, Zephyr noticed something was wrong, and when he looked back, he saw Bai Ye standing in the air, as if walking on flat ground, looking at him with a smile on his face. Zephyr almost popped his eyes out. How is this possible? Chapter 35 I am Bai Ye, but I have the qualifications to be a general. Advertise here. Zephyr asked tentatively, have you mastered Moonwalk? In fact, there is no need to ask. Anyone with eyes can see that Bai Ye has more than mastered Moonwalk. But Zephyr still couldn't believe the scene before him. 5 minutes ago, he was comforting Bai Ye not to be discouraged, and using himself and Garp as examples to encourage Bai Ye. It was said that it took the two of them a month to get started. And Bai Yoruichi turned his head, fully mastered Moonwalk, and used it freely. Isn't this a slap in the face? Luckily no one else was around to hear it. Otherwise, if this matter spreads out, where will Zephyr's old face be? Ahem, although you performed Moonwalk very well this time, there are still some minor flaws that need to be corrected. In order to maintain his face, Zephyr can only find faults and pick out some minor faults that have nothing to do with elegance. Bai Ye did not expose Zephyr. After all, he had the traditional virtue of respecting the elderly and caring for the young, and what Zephyr said was indeed correct. When Zephyr saw that Bai Ye was not proud, he actually acted like he was listening attentively. It seemed that he had memorized everything he said. Zephyr loves Bai Ye even more. He has not eaten devil fruit, has a good physical foundation, good talent, no pride, and respects his teacher. As a teacher, who wouldn't like such students? Zephyr suddenly had the idea of recruiting a disciple. Although he has taught 3 generals in his life, it has been proved that his teaching ability is not weaker than his strength. But these 3 generals are all users of the Logia fruit, and their fruit abilities are also top-notch. Therefore, there will be a small number of people who question that Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji can still become generals even without his teachings. And the main reason is because he is a strong physical artist, but he has taught 3 natural fruit ability users. Let him always feel regret. And the Bai Ye in front of him is the best candidate to make up for his regrets. Zephyr did not hide the praise in his words. I really didn't expect your talent to be so strong. I want to be your teacher and teach you everything I have learned in my life, what do you think? Zephyr wants to accept me as his disciple. Bai Ye was a little stunned, he really didn't expect this. Although Zephyr is also teaching Bai Ye now, the relationship between the two is just that of instructor and student. When Bai Ye graduates 3 years later, it will be difficult to maintain the relationship between the two. But becoming Zephyr's apprentice is different. Although the teacher-student relationship is not as good as the blood relationship, it is still similar. In this way, Bai Ye's body is marked with Zephyr's mark. If Bai Ye does anything extraordinary, Zephyr can easily be implicated. However, Bai Ye thought about it and decided to become a disciple of Zephyr. When watching anime before, Bai Ye had the idea that Zephyr was not worth it. Such a character should not die in that way. Bai Ye made up his mind, since you are willing to teach me wholeheartedly, then I will try my best to prevent that thing from happening. Then, I want to become your disciple. Can you give me 70 million belly for free? Zephyr smiled and said, this is impossible, the rules are the rules. Tisk, what a stingy teacher. Ha ha ha, you're not a big boy. The two looked at each other and smiled, feeling warm in each other's hearts. Congratulations to host for becoming Black Arm, Zephyr's apprentice, and will be rewarded with 1000 points of world source power. Bai Ye didn't expect that a double happiness would come to his door, and the smile on his face became even bigger. Within the next month, under Zephyr's full guidance, Byakuya mastered all 6 marine styles. And reached a very proficient level. Of course, this is also thanks to the cheating device of the system, which allows Bai Ye to get started quickly. Bai Ye opened the current panel. Open black lens bracket host. Bai Ye close black lens bracket. Template. One Punch Man, Saitama. Fusion degree. 17%. World source power. 602. Fusion degree 17% 18%. Requires world source power. 800. Special skills. Imperial Engine, Moonwalk LV5 full, Paper Painting LV4 plus, Iron Block LV4 plus. Finger Gun LV4 plus, Lanjiao LV3 plus, Shave LV5 full. Except for the fact that Bai Ye used the world source power during Moonwalk and Shao training. The proficiency of the other 4 movements was basically gained through Bai Ye's own practice. A general is willing to be a sparring partner, and can always point out your shortcomings and teach you many years of combat experience. This is simply more powerful than carrying an old man with you. Only then did Bai Ye experience the great benefits of having Zephyr as his teacher. Although there has been no progress in integration and physical fitness has not improved much. But Bai Ye feels that with his current methods and combat experience, he is enough to defeat the first two of himself. Zephyr was quite satisfied with Bai Ye's improvement in the past month, and even directly said, I am a mere white knight, but I have the qualifications of a general. Many thanks to Garp for sending Bai Ye to the elite training camp. Garp was depressed for several days, so he asked Sengoku for leave again. He said that he wanted to go home and educate his grandson Luffy well, and strive to make Luffy a marine general. As for the method of education, it is naturally extremely cruel. It is estimated that Luffy will have to carry a big bag on his head during this period. From a deserted island not far from marine headquarters, deafening roars could be heard from time to time. Two figures kept intersecting in midair, and from time to time, several dozen meter-long slash waves shot out. Under the interference of the aftermath of the battle between the two, the originally dense and vigorous towering trees fell in pieces like harvested wheat. The beasts living in the forest fled wildly, as if there was an extremely terrifying existence deep in the jungle. A young voice came from deep in the jungle. Teacher Zephyr, your fists are not as powerful as they were a month ago. That's because your kid's skin has thickened and is more resistant to beatings. Bai Ye and Zephyr stood facing each other hundreds of meters apart. The next moment, they appeared in front of each other at the same time and punched with all their strength. Boom! An invisible air wave spread from between the two of them. The trees that had fallen to the ground were swept up by the air wave, and the ground of the entire island dropped by 1 meter. The beasts living on the island would cry. If they didn't know how to build ships, they would all want to go to sea on their own. Since these two monsters arrived a month ago, the island has been cleaned every 2 or 3 days, and the island has also sunk a lot. After a month, the originally dense woods were shaved off, and the island area was reduced by 1/10. If this continues, this island will be submerged by the sea sooner or later. And this is just the teaching method chosen by Zephyr in order to allow Bai Ye to better practice domineering. Nothing can make people improve faster than actual combat. Chapter 36 It's a pity to be considered a marine with your talent. Advertise here. Have you realized how to practice armed color hockey? I have a feeling, but I haven't gotten started yet. Bai Ye recalled the scene of the battle just now and the feeling of fighting Zephyr. Bai Ye has only just begun to practice hockey, and can only continue to understand it on his own. Seeing Bai Ye's deep thought, Zephyr couldn't help but smile and said, you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself. You can master the Marine 6th style within a month, which is far beyond my expectations. But as someone who has experienced it, I suggest that you first practice the iron blocks and paper drawings in the 6 movements to the limit. The iron block is a weakened version of armed hockey. When used, it can achieve a defense similar to that covered by armed hockey. The disadvantage is that it cannot move. The paper painting is equivalent to a weakened version of the hockey of insight. It can sense the coming attack, and the body will make corresponding changes according to the attack. The disadvantage is that the range is smaller. If you can practice these 2 styles, you will probably be able to understand the hockey of armed color and the hockey of knowledge. Otherwise, having an elder in the family is like having a treasure. If you don't have personal experience with this type of cultivation, I'm afraid no one would know that these 2 moves can help people master domineering. Although Bai Ye was a little anxious about hockey, he was not impatient. He has only been in the Marine training camp for about a month now, which is still a long time. And even Luffy spent 2 years practicing hockey. So Bai Ye was thinking a lot. Once understood, there is a system, and as long as there is sufficient world source power, everything will not be a problem. Bai Ye smiled and said, Teacher, don't worry, I know that sometimes you can't rush things like cultivation. Zephyr nodded and said, that's good. By the way, today seems to be the first month-end assessment for the freshmen in the training camp. Do you want to take a look? Zephyr also saw that Bai Ye had practiced day and night in the past month, so he specifically proposed the assessment so that Bai Ye could have a day off. Bai Ye asked doubtfully, the assessment at the end of the month. Why didn't I receive the notice? Why are you informing me? Zephyr said angrily, I'm too lazy to talk to you. Do you think it's a sense of accomplishment to bully those newcomers with your strength? Hee, I'm a newcomer too. You're nothing but a newbie, Zephyr thought that Bai Ye was indeed a newcomer, and he was also relatively young among the soldiers who entered the camp. Others at this age are very strong, they are basically ability users, and the devil fruit they eat is also quite powerful, so they are invincible among their peers. The peak period of strong physical skills is usually in middle age, because the body is not that strong when they are young. Even Zephyr and Garp were only slightly stronger than their peers when they were 18 years old. Then we entered a period of rapid growth. But this kid Bai Ye is so strong at the age of 18, which makes Zephyr really want to dissect and study this guy. How can he be so strong at the age of 18? Okay, I can't go if I don't. I can't if I don't go. Bai Ye was just about to say that he wouldn't go, but he also knew that his strength used to be all about massacre, which was meaningless. But halfway through his words, Bai Ye heard a system notification sound in his mind. Congratulations to the host for triggering the learning task. Getting first place in each end of month assessment will be rewarded with 200 points of world source power. Close black lens bracket. Again, Bai Ye couldn't help complaining as he listened to the reminder sound in his mind. Why don't you just change the name to the Shueba system? Let me get first place every time, develop morally, intellectually, physically, artistically, and physically, and strive to wear a red flower on my chest, resist the 5 bars on my shoulders, and become a captain among the students. But complaints are complaints, Bai Ye is still happy about the task triggered by the system. With Bai Ye's strength, aren't these 200 points of world source power just a free gift? And Bai Ye noticed that the system was talking about each assessment, which meant that Bai Ye could get 2,400 points of world source power from the assessment every year. This is a fixed income, and the working period is 3 years. Bai Ye has already thought about it. From now on, he will be in a hurry with anyone who asks him to graduate from the elite training camp early. Bai Ye walked to Zephyr and said, "Teacher, I must participate in this end-of-month assessment. Give me a reason why you must participate. See if you can convince me." Zephyr pouted. From Zephyr's point of view, Bai Ye just wanted to show off his strong strength among his peers. Just like a child would show his favorite toys to his peers. It's all boring vanity. But looking at Bai Ye's still slightly childish face, Zephyr couldn't help but mutter in his heart, "Isn't this little monster just a child in front of him?" But Bai Ye had already sorted out his words and spoke with sincerity. "Teacher, actually I am taking the assessment this time not for myself, but for you, teacher, for the students who are my contemporaries, and even more for Marine." Bai Yoruichi spoke, almost making Zephyr unsteady on the spot. "Good guy, if you want to show off your strength, go ahead and show off, and I have no intention of stopping you. After all, you are still a child, and it is normal to want to show off. But now you are telling me so much, for me, for the students, for Marine. It seems like if I stopped you from taking the assessment, I would be Marine's sinner." Zephyr said angrily, "Come and listen." Bai Ye said with a serious expression, "First of all, for the teacher took me with him and taught me when I first entered the training camp. I will always keep this kindness in my heart. But they don't know how much my strength has changed in the past month under the teacher's guidance, so I must show my strength in front of them to prove your excellent education level, teacher." Quote. The corner of Zephyr's mouth twitched. "You barely qualify for this one, so let's go to the next one. Secondly, for them, I do this just to let them understand how big the gap is between themselves and me at the same time, and to set a goal for them, so as to inspire them to work hard." Zephyr's mouth twitched continuously. "Keep talking. Third point, for Marine, you must know that those who can enter the elite training camp are elite soldiers in Marine. Every death or injury is a huge loss to Marine. And after they see my strength, I can give them a clear understanding of the strong, and thus they will be in awe of the strong. In this way, after they graduate, they will not die in the hands of strong people because of impulse." Quote. Zephyr found that he seemed to have only really gotten to know Bai Ye now, and couldn't help but say, "Bai Ye, have you ever considered joining the world government as an official? I think being a Marine is too unqualified for you. Compared with your eloquence, your cultivation talent seems dim." Chapter 37 The Disaster of Recruits. Advertise here. The assessment at the end of every month in the elite training camp is very important for recruits. Because the results of each end-of-month assessment will be recorded, it is related to the grades given to them when they graduate. The higher the score, the higher the position you can get upon graduation. Although there is a pervert like Bai Ye this year, there is no hope for the first place in the same period. But for the second place in the same period, everyone still wants to compete. The assessment is based on a battle system. After all, after they graduate, they will have to face extremely vicious pirates. And they enter the training camp to improve their strength faster. Before the competition started, a recruit asked Instructor, "Will Bai Ye come to take the month-end assessment?" He is not the only one who wants to know this question. All the students participating in the assessment are very concerned about this issue. If Bai Ye participates, then if they are unfortunate enough to be drawn against Bai Ye in the first round, their results will be lost. Instructor was stunned for a moment, but based on his understanding of Instructor Zephyr, he probably would not allow Bai Ye to participate, so he smiled at the recruits and said, "Don't worry, Bai Ye will not come to participate in this assessment, and it will not affect your results." Hearing Instructor's words, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It would be better if the pervert didn't come. Quick took the lead and said coldly, "If Bai Ye is not here, I will decide on the first place." In 1 month, Quick's body shape has become much stronger than before. You can imagine how hard he worked this month. The soldiers following Quick cheered, "Come on, boss Quick." The leader on the other side said calmly, "Big Black Bear, are you saying this too soon? This first place must belong to Boss Ferguson." Quick was not to be outdone and said, "I'm going to crush your big light bulb today. Let you know who is the strongest in the freshman camp." The atmosphere on both sides became tense, as if there was going to be a big battle in the next moment. Within this month, the soldiers in the training camp gradually divided into 3 factions. The first one is naturally the Marine headquarters soldiers forming their own group, led by the strongest Quick. The second one was jointly organized by North Blue, South Blue, and West Blue, and the strongest Ferguson was promoted from the middle as the leader. As for this last faction, it was naturally composed of Donghai, and Bai Ye undoubtedly became the leader. Although even Bai Ye himself didn't know such a thing existed. Even though Donghai's faction has the smallest number of people and the weakest overall strength, because they have Bai Ye's back, neither Quick nor Ferguson will take the initiative to provoke them. Naturally, the people on the East China Sea side knew not to cause trouble for Bai Ye, so everyone lived in peace with each other for a month. Listening to the recruits shouting at each other, the instructor present not only did not stop them, but showed a knowing smile on his face. Instructors will not care about healthy competition among recruits like this. After all, they are all bloody young people, and it is a good thing to be a little bloody. Seeing that the time was almost up, Cook was ready to announce that the assessment had officially begun. I announce that the first month-end assessment is now. Wait a minute, let me preside over this month-end assessment. Zephyr and Bai Ye suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Zephyr was finally persuaded by Bai Ye and agreed to Bai Ye's participation in the end-of-month assessment test. Of course, he didn't believe Bai Ye's nonsense. I just saw that Bai Ye was even able to make up these outrageous lies with some truth in them in order to participate in the end-of-month assessment. Feeling soft for a moment, he let Bai Ye participate. Of course, this was only agreed upon when Bai Ye promised that he would be careful during the test and not make any heavy moves. Everyone looked at the two people who suddenly appeared in stunned silence, Instructor Zephyr and Bai Ye. Cook asked bravely, Chief Instructor, this is. Zephyr said calmly, isn't this the end-of-month assessment? So I brought Bai Ye over to take part in the assessment. Gulu. Hearing Zephyr's calm words, the more than 600 people present swallowed their saliva. Nima Bai Ye still wants to take the assessment. Quick and Ferguson, who had just been at war with each other to compete for first place, now felt only endless desolation in their hearts. Nearly 600 pairs of big, aggrieved eyes looked at Instructor Cook. Didn't you just say that Bai Ye wouldn't come to take the assessment? Why did it come suddenly now? We have been excited for so long in vain. Cook couldn't stand being stared at by so many eyes and asked with a sad face. Instructor Zephyr, with Bai Ye's strength, there is no need to participate in the assessment. Before Zephyr could speak, Bai Ye raised his neck and asked, Cook Instructor, am I not a recruit? Cook swore that he really wanted to say that you were a bad recruit. Apart from looking like a recruit, what else do you have like a recruit? But under Bai Ye's eyes, Cook could only give in and said, you are a recruit. Then can I take the end-of-month assessment? Before he finished speaking, Bai Ye made a fool-like gesture in front of Cook. Although each shot bounced in the air without causing any impact. But in Cook's eyes, every blow was a slap on his head. Think about that miserable boxing strength testing machine again, this is a real threat to Kai Guago. Cook was about to cry. His big watery eyes looked at Zephyr, as if to say, Chief Instructor, someone threatens your longtime subordinate in front of you, but you don't care. At this time, Zephyr looked up at the sky and said with emotion, oh, the weather is really good today, the sun is shining brightly, it is a good day for the assessment. But when everyone looked up, they could only see dark clouds covering the sun, as if a disaster was about to come. Oh, yes, don't think about it, isn't this disaster just the white knight in front of you? Seeing that even Zephyr didn't care, Cook could only give in and said, yes. Bai Ye looked happy, it's good if you can. Everyone looked sad, as this still a human life. Even the chief instructor is on Bai Ye's side, so the last 3 years of the elite training camp can be changed to Bai. Just call it White Knight Training Camp, which is more in line with the reality. Quote. Bai Ye appeared on the test platform and said arrogantly, I heard you shouting very hard just now. You want to beat this one to death or crush that one to death. Are you here to compete for second place? Quick, Ferguson, Cook. Zephyr cursed in his heart, damn he knew this kid was here to show off, yet he was so arrogant without any cover-up. When he goes to sea in the future, he will be beaten to death sooner or later. But when Zephyr thought about it, with Bai Ye's current strength, there were probably very few people who could kill him. In other words, as long as Bai Ye doesn't seek death, he can keep pretending. Zephyr began to feel lucky that he had taken a back seat and did not meet people like Bai Ye when he was young. Chapter 38 I Want to Fight 600. Advertise here. Seeing that everyone was silent, Bai Ye did not change his arrogant attitude at all. Seeing that you are too weak, I can give you a chance. You can all come together. Listening to Bai Ye's arrogant words, the soldiers who had lowered their heads in silence all raised their heads and looked at Bai Ye. One person wants to beat all the students. Nothing like this has ever happened at Marine Elite Training Camp. Even Akainu, Kizaru, and Aokiji did not do such exaggerated things in their training camp. Even Zephyr couldn't believe it. He just thought Bai Ye was just here to pretend to be small, but who knew that Bai Ye actually wanted to pretend to be big? Isn't this kid too crazy? However, with Zephyr's understanding of Bai Ye's strength, he still believes that Bai Ye has the ability to deal with these recruits. Everything is under control. As the leaders of the two largest factions among the soldiers, Quick and Ferguson looked at each other for a long time, seeming to consider the possibilities together. If this were a man and a woman looking at each other like this, the light in each other's eyes would melt each other. It would be either love at first sight or two blind people. Seeing that everyone was still silent, Bai Ye spoke again, you are too useless, aren't you? You don't even dare to do this, so that's good. In addition to the 10 instructors present, you can take action together. Damn it, what else is there about us? Cook's eyes widened and he began to gear up. This kid dared to threaten me just now. I didn't expect that he would have a chance to take revenge so soon. Seeing that some instructors were not very willing to take action, Cook quickly advised. Even Bai Ye, a newcomer who has been in the camp for a month, dares to challenge our instructor team. If we don't teach him a lesson, wouldn't it ruin the reputation of our instructor team? How will we teach recruits in the future? Do you want others to say that our instructor team is afraid of newcomers who have just been in the camp for a month? Not to mention, Cook's words moved the instructors who were originally reluctant to take action, and they all nodded and expressed their willingness to take action. Cook's words certainly deserve a lot of credit for achieving such a result. But Bai Ye's arrogant look is also quite inviting. Cook didn't deliberately lower his volume when he spoke, so Bai Ye could hear it clearly. Cook saw Bai Ye showing a bright smile to him, which made people shudder, and once again made a gesture that seemed to make him lose his mind. Damn it, this guy still dares to threaten me. Cook was shocked. Even after persuading the entire instructor team was not safe enough, Cook wanted to drag Zephyr onto the pirate ship to fight against Bai Ye. He even said that Bai Ye's move was to provoke the Marine elite training camp. Zephyr couldn't justify it if he didn't take action. Zephyr has no doubt that if Cook is allowed to continue talking, Cook will even be able to say that he will call back the 3 major generals who graduated from the training camp. Ahem. I am not involved in this matter. I am only responsible for presiding over this assessment. Zephyr hesitated again and again, but still refused. In fact, Zephyr is very excited, and it is exciting just to think about it with so many people beating Bai Ye together. Looking at Bai Ye's arrogant look again, Zephyr was furious. Laozi was not so arrogant even when he became a general. You, a recruit, are so arrogant. How can you do it without fighting? But Zephyr is afraid. Bai Ye is the most agreeable disciple he has met in his more than 30 years of teaching. He has never seen anyone better and more outstanding than Bai Ye. What if he goes up and is beaten away by Bai Ye? If he really ran away, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. So he only watched from the sidelines and would never take action. Seeing that he could not persuade Zephyr, Cook said no more, thinking that it would be enough for them to take action together. Instructor group, 10 instructors, 3 headquarters lieutenant generals, and 7 headquarters major generals. This lineup is enough to deal with a big pirate with a bounty of over 1 billion. In addition to the marine elites drawn from various places, their strength is basically at the captain level, a total of 590 people. The strong one can even be compared to the colonel of the headquarters, and the weak one is also the lieutenant junior grade of the headquarters. 600 people in total. Shiro Yoruichi wants to challenge such an exaggerated lineup. Just when Bai Ye announced that he would challenge all recruit and instructor groups, the news swept through the entire marine headquarters like a storm. They were not familiar with Bai Ye, but they had heard of the name. It is said that instructor Zephyr personally accepted the disciples, and when he accepted the disciples, he said, "My disciple Bai Ye has the qualifications to be a general." If it is really that easy to become a general, then the general is not worthy of Marine's top combat power. And Byakuya is not yet a devil fruit user, so everyone thinks this sentence is just what instructor Zephyr said. But he didn't expect that in just 1 month, Bai Ye would actually challenge all the recruit and instructor groups. Along the way, people wearing school-level uniforms could be seen hurriedly running towards the training camp. Lieutenant General Bastiu, what's going on? There is something good happening in the training camp. Go watch it quickly. If you go late, it will be too late. Colonel Morley, you also went to the training camp to watch the show. Of course, if you go quickly, you can still grab a good seat. In the Marine Fleet Admiral office, Sengoku finished handling the matter and was about to take out a donut from the drawer to reward himself. I accidentally saw from the window a lieutenant general and a major general on the street, using moonwalk, and moving quickly in the same direction. Sengoku was confused. If he hadn't heard the sound of fighting, he would have thought that there were pirates trying to attack the Marine headquarters. So he quickly asked the soldiers at the door. After learning what Bai Ye had done, he was very interested in it and hurried to the training camp. Pier. Garp got off the boat with a depressed look and happened to meet Aokiji, who had just completed his mission. Garp is Aokiji's old leader. Before becoming a general, Aokiji had always followed Garp and was basically Garp's little fanboy. So even though Aokiji is a general and Garp is a lieutenant general, Aokiji still behaves very respectfully when facing Garp. Teacher Garp, are you unhappy with your vacation this time? Oh, let's not talk about these nonsense. Garp waved his hands impatiently, the trouble in his heart was palpable. Originally he was envious of Zephyr for having such a good apprentice, so he took a vacation and returned to Windmill Village, preparing to teach his grandson Luffy how to become an excellent marine. But after this month, Luffy refused to become a marine, and insisted on going to sea to become a pirate, which made him almost hammer Luffy's brains out. Even so, Luffy still didn't change his determination, which made Garp feel tired. In addition, the vacation time has come, so I can only rush back frustrated. Thinking of this, Garp couldn't help but curse the red-haired boy who seduced the ignorant boy Luffy. If the red-haired boy hadn't seduced his grandson every day, his grandson would have become an excellent marine. How could it give him such a headache? What Garp didn't know was that just as his front foot left the East China Sea, on an island somewhere in the East China Sea, the red-haired pirates, one of the 4 Emperor's pirate groups, are resting here. Ah, What's going on? Can I catch a cold with my physical condition? The red-haired man looked at his body and said narcissistically, you're still very strong. It's probably just your nose that's itchy. Boo. The phone bug in the red-haired man's arm suddenly rang. Beckman, is that old man Garp gone? He must have left. I watched his ship return to the Grand Line. Okay, then let's go to Windmill Village to chat with Luffy. After hanging up the phone, the red-haired man said proudly, over the years, I've been chatting with Luffy all the time, and I even lost my left arm in front of Luffy for saving him. Do you really think that this left arm was given to you for free? You still want to persuade Luffy to become a marine? What a naive old man. Garp and Red Hair were fighting like guerrilla warfare. When the enemy retreats, we advance, and when the enemy advances, we retreat. They fought very methodically. Garp and Aokiji were about to return to Marine headquarters to report their work, but found that most of the people were running towards the training camp. After stopping to ask, I found out that Bai Ye actually wanted to challenge all the recruit and instructor groups. After hearing the news, Garp was not only shocked, but his lungs hurt even more. Because he personally gave Bai Ye to Zephyr, but who would have thought that Bai Ye, who had nothing but handsomeness at that time, would have such a high talent. So the two of them rushed to the training camp. No matter whether Bai Ye lost or won this challenge, Bai Ye's name was undoubtedly resounding throughout the Marine headquarters. In the training camp, when Zephyr was about to announce the start of the assessment, he saw the students who had graduated from the training camp, wearing general-level military uniforms, sitting where they had sat before. Zephyr, this apprentice of yours is really making a lot of noise. Warring states, you're actually here too. I just finished taking care of the things at hand, so I came over to take a look. Warring States looked at the people sitting on the sidelines and said helplessly, well, when I held a high-level meeting of the headquarters a few days ago, not all people came here. Sengoku found a high seat and just sat down when Garp and Aokiji appeared beside him. Garp, Aokiji, isn't it true that one of you is on vacation and the other is on a mission? Aokiji also respected Zephyr, Mr. Garp and I happened to meet at the port. We heard the news here, so we came over. Garp was extremely upset because of Luffy's incident and said carelessly. Zephyr, can that boy Bai Ye do it? There are so many of us coming to see him. If he loses, wouldn't it be in vain for us to come? Hearing Garp's unhappy tone, Zephyr didn't feel too comfortable and said with a smile, Garp, you have to have confidence in the people you brought from the East China Sea. You old guy, you still have the nerve to say, if I hadn't brought Bai Ye from the East China Sea to you, would you have found such a good apprentice? That's because you are blind and didn't discover Bai Ye's talent. If you are going to discover it, can you give me Bai Ye? Two old men in their 60s and 70s started arguing in front of everyone. Although Aokiji is a marine general, he is obviously not qualified to regulate the two people in front of him. Warring States Fleet Admiral, don't you want to persuade me? Warring States looked helpless. Both of them were old men who were about to die. Wouldn't it be embarrassing to argue in front of so many young people? As they watched the two of them bickering and getting closer, they could spray enough saliva to wash each other's face. Warring States could only persuade and say, okay, let's start the assessment quickly. You will almost lose the face of the older generation. After hearing what Warring States said, the two stopped thinking about arguing anymore. At this time, the recruits and instructors in the training camp were stunned. Damn it, what is going on? Isn't it the month-end assessment of the Marine Elite Training Camp? It happens once a month. Is it such an exaggeration? Warring States period, Marine Fleet Admiral. Garp, Marine Hero. Zephyr, former Marine General, current Marine Chief Instructor. Aokiji, current Marine General. Look at the officers sitting quietly not far away. There are 7 Marine Headquarters Lieutenant Generals, 22 Marine Headquarters Major Generals, Brigadiers and Headquarters Colonels, almost 100. With this lineup, it is enough to fight 2-4 Emperors groups. Now it's just to see their month-end assessment. Or are you just looking at Yoruichi's month-end assessment? Being watched by so many big shots is both pressure and motivation. Both instructors and recruits have undoubtedly strengthened their belief at this moment. This battle cannot be lost. Once they lose, they will become a stepping stone for Bai Ye to become famous in the sea. When the students of this period are mentioned again in the future, others will only know Bai Ye, and no one else will be remembered. Just like the students who were at the same time as the 3 Marine generals, they were destined to only be a foil. And the initiator of all this, Bai Ye, also did not expect that it would lead to such a situation. Look at the Marine executives sitting around. Looking at the serious faces of both the recruit and the instructor, it can be imagined that this assessment is probably going to be tough. Bai Ye sighed and thought to himself, I am not a person who likes to pretend, being low-key is my motto. I can only blame the system for insisting on letting me show off, and even using the power of the world to seduce me. Facing the temptation of the world's power, I have no choice. Alas, this damn system has broken my low profile. If the system could speak, it would probably be able to give Bai Ye a bath with spit. I assigned a task for you to take first place. Who the hell asked you to show off and challenge for 600? Now you are still blaming me, you are really not a thing. Bai Ye took a deep breath and said, since I am the one who beats you all, then this arena seems too small and is in the way. How about we use the entire training ground as the arena? Bai Ye's proposal was equivalent to giving up a huge advantage. Originally, he would lose as long as he was kicked out of the ring. But if the entire training ground is to be used as the arena, then there is no such thing. Although Zephyr didn't understand why Bai Ye did this, he still chose to believe in his apprentice. Okay, let's use the training ground as the arena. Bai Ye said calmly, then there is no need for this arena. As soon as he finished speaking, the arena, which was 10 meters long and 3 meters high, seemed to be suppressed by a terrifying force. The entire arena suddenly fell and was pressed 3 meters into the ground until the surface of the arena was flush with the ground. The most horrifying thing is that the surface of the arena that suffered huge force is still as smooth as new without any damage. Bai Ye stood in the center of the ring, looked around, and said loudly, come on, I want to fight 10.600. Chapter 39 Two-Color Domineering. Advertise here. Bai Ye pressed the ring into the ground intact, which meant that the battle that attracted the attention of many high-level officials had officially begun. Cook reminded, Bai Ye, don't you choose a weapon that is handy. We are all equipped with weapons. If you don't have one, you will be at a huge disadvantage fighting us. Bai Ye declined Cook's kindness. No, even if I take it, I won't be able to use it smoothly. I might as well just use my fists and kicks. The sword has no eyes, you have to be careful. After Cook finished speaking, he took the lead to attack Bai Ye. The long knife in his hand made a clear and long groan, and an extremely sharp half-moon-shaped slash came quickly towards Bai Ye. Bai Ye did not dodge or dodge, and hit a several-meter-long slash with one punch. The slash instantly shattered like porcelain. Bai Ye looked at a faint white mark appearing on his fist. It was still not enough. He needed more, and more. Suddenly, 2 strong winds came from behind, rushing straight towards Bai Ye's sides. The next moment, Bai Ye's body was as thin as a piece of paper, and he escaped the joint attacks of the 2 instructors. He grabbed the arms of the 2 instructors with his backhand and threw them out with terrifying force. Bang, bang, bang. The bodies of the 2 instructors rushed through the crowd like bowling balls, knocking down a group of students. There were many cries of pain. What are you still hesitating about? Do you really want me, who has just been in the camp for a month, to defeat 600 of you? Looking at the instructors and students who were still hesitating around them, Bai Ye said with a hint of ridicule, if the person standing here is a pirate, are you also hesitating like this? If you are not willing to take action, then I will take action. Bai Ye rushed directly into the crowd, using his hands and feet. Judging from the strength of these students, no one could block his move. But in order not to hurt them, Bai Ye needed to carefully control his strength. This was also the promise he made to Zephyr. Think of it as exercising to control strength. He punches away the student in front of him, dodges the attack from behind, and then kicks over an instructor. He is like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, and there is almost no enemy at all. Seeing Bai Ye killing everyone below, the marine executives present were all shocked by Bai Ye's performance. After learning that Bai Ye was going to challenge 600, they already thought of Bai Ye very strongly. After all, if he wasn't strong, no lunatic would dare to challenge 600 people. But they didn't expect that the battle would be one-sided. Not to mention picking up 600 at once, just look at Bai Ye's attitude. If he picks up another 600, he can knock them all over for you. Except for a few lieutenant generals, they felt that something was wrong as they watched this battle, but they couldn't explain why they felt this way. But the 4 people in the highest stand saw something from Bai Ye's performance. Garp frowned and asked, Zephyr, are you sure this kid has learned the 6th form of marine? Byakuya, who rushed into the crowd, did not use finger guns or arashi kicks when attacking, and did not use razor or moonwalk to move. I only used paper drawings to dodge the attack. If I couldn't dodge it, I just used iron blocks to resist. This kind of fighting method looks very exciting and hits the flesh, but in fact it is very stupid. Zephyr naturally knew that Bai Ye had learned all the 6 marine styles, and he knew very well that Bai Ye, this boy, wanted to be able to roam the sea unscrupulously in the future. I was practicing Shao and moonwalk hard every day, and I was still muttering about things like, if you can't fight, run away, and that only the living are qualified to deal damage. After this month, Zephyr felt that Bai Ye's mastery of Shao and moonwalk was as good as his own. But Bai Ye now behaves as if he only knows 2 techniques, iron block and paper drawing. Looking at the resolute look on Shiro Yoruichi's face, Zephyr suddenly had a bold idea in his mind. Could it be that this kid is planning to? I didn't expect this kid to have such determination, no wonder he did this. Zephyr laughed and said, Garp, just keep watching with your eyes wide open. My apprentice will definitely win, and sooner or later he will become a marine general. He believed that Bai Ye could succeed. Garp snorted and didn't reply. Sengoku and Aokiji also saw something was wrong, but they didn't think that Byakuya really only knew these 2 moves this month. So they concluded that Bai Ye must have some conspiracy in this battle. In less than a moment, Bai Ye had already defeated more than 300 people and 4 instructors. Because Bai Ye didn't act cruelly, these people only lost their combat effectiveness temporarily and could continue to fight after taking a rest. This is also the disadvantage of Bai Ye setting the competition venue at the training ground. In addition to making the opponent admit defeat, the only way is to make the opponent lose the ability to fight. At this time, a safe zone had been cleared around Bai Ye. The instructors constantly arranged for the students to pull out the injured students lying on the ground to avoid a stampede incident later during the battle. Bai Ye, on the other hand, took this opportunity to take a few deep breaths to calm down the rising and falling chest. Opening the system panel, Bai Ye mainly looked at the two skills of paper painting and iron block. Paper painting LV5 10% plus, iron block LV5 6% plus. Just from the progress of these two skills, one can imagine how many beatings Bai Ye received and how many attacks he avoided during this period. Just as Zephyr thought, Bai Ye was preparing to rely on this one-on-one challenge to speed up his training in paper drawing and iron blocks. Although Bai Ye can achieve his goal by relying on the world source power, the world source power is really too little. When you save. It's better to let everyone in the training camp work for him and help him hone his skills. It's quick. It should be enough to knock down the remaining people. Bai Ye thought silently in his heart. At this time, the people who fell to the ground around them were also cleared out, and the battle was about to start again. Maybe the previous battle gave them enough warning, so they were all ready to follow the orders of an instructor. Instead of fighting on their own as before, they were in a state of disunity. As the two strongest freshmen, Quick and Ferguson have managed to survive until now, which surprised Bai Ye. Although he didn't deliberately target anyone during the battle, he basically hit whoever was closest. But Bai Ye clearly remembers that Quick was punched twice by him, and Ferguson was also punched once. Like other students, anyone who is not unconscious on the spot after being punched by Shiro Yoruichi is considered to be physically strong, and basically needs to rest on the sidelines for a period of time. And these two people were actually able to participate in the battle after being attacked by Bai Ye. It seems that these two guys still have two skills. Cook, who was the first to attack Bai Ye, also supported himself and became the commander of the subsequent battle. The battle began, and under Cook's command, the battle became extremely organized. Taking action is no longer as random as before. When taking action, you have to consider whether it will accidentally injure your companions. But now, there is no need to think so much. Everyone takes action in sequence according to Cook's arrangement. If they miss a hit, they will retreat directly to leave space for the next wave of attackers. Even if he is unfortunately hit by Bai Ye when taking action, someone will drag him away as soon as possible. This caused a lot of trouble for Bai Ye. The attacks were like a tide, with no chance to breathe. However, Bai Ye became even more excited about such trouble. He originally wanted to rely on this exercise to break through his limits, and the more trouble he had, the better. As for whether he will lose, this is completely outside Bai Ye's consideration. He is now completely suppressing his own strength to play, and most of his strength has not been used. Moreover, the other four postures were not used. If he really used his full strength, there would probably only be a few instructors left standing. No matter how bad it is, there is still a system. So losing is completely impossible. As time passed and seeing the battle becoming more and more severe, Cook called Ferguson and Quick to his side. Ferguson, you will need to cooperate with Quick later. I and other instructors will create opportunities for you. You must seize them. I'm afraid we can't win this battle. This kid is like a monster, but the least we can do is get him injured, otherwise 600 of us won't be able to hang out in Marine anymore. Quick and Ferguson nodded in agreement. They were completely convinced by Bai Ye. They have never seen anyone as capable and thick-skinned as Bai Ye. After fighting for so long and receiving so many punches, Bai Ye still looked lively and energetic. This kind of fighting makes people feel a little desperate. Bai Ye looked at the progress bar of the skill from time to time, and was already happy when he saw the proficiency soaring. Paper painting LV5 95% plus, iron block LV5 95% plus. Proficiency in both skills goes hand in hand. Of course, this also has something to do with Bai Ye's own control. As he becomes more proficient in paper painting, he won't hide anymore and will receive more punches. As your proficiency with the iron block increases, you will receive fewer punches and try your best to avoid them. There are not many opportunities to gain proficiency like this. It is not life-threatening, and it can also increase your reputation. Earn blood. From time to time, the person Bai Ye hit first regained his fighting power and joined the battle again, forming a cycle. For Bai Ye, this is simply a perpetual motion machine for improving proficiency. At this moment, Cook and the people he had discussed with looked at each other and felt that now was the best time to take action. Although they can let those students who wake up take action again, Bai Ye's energy will always be exhausted if he doesn't stop. But if they really do this, they might as well just admit defeat. Cook rushed to the front with the only two instructors, and Ferguson followed them, seemingly wanting to take action together. Bai Ye also noticed this scene and said excitedly, "Okay, I didn't expect you, Cook instructor, to actually come to my door. I've been wanting to punch you for a long time. Don't worry, this punch won't kill you. At most, it will make you lie in bed for half a month." Although Bai Ye is not a grudge-bearing person, he is not very magnanimous either. I saw Cook jumping up and down in order to gang up on him before. Not only did he persuade all the instructors, but even Zephyr wanted to pull him over. How could Bai Ye not treat Cook instructor who was so caring to him? Just when several people came to Bai Ye and were about to take action, they heard Cook yell, "Close your eyes." Ferguson beside him was like a human-shaped sun, emitting extremely strong light, illuminating the entire training ground like a sea of light. The officers sitting on the sidelines felt their eyes hurt from the dazzling light. They covered their eyes with their hands and narrowed their eyes to a narrow slit before they could see clearly. Even a strong man like Garp felt a little uncomfortable with such a dazzling light, and his eyes gradually became moist due to the self-protection mechanism. When Garp turned around and wanted to ask Zephyr what was going on, this made Garp look stupid. Aokiji used his fruit power to create two thin pieces of ice in front of his eyes, directly reflecting the light away. Warring State's eyes were wrapped in a layer of golden light, completely unobstructed. Seeing Garp's somewhat uncomfortable look, Warring States smiled and said, "When I used my fruit power to turn into a golden Buddha, the light was no worse than his." Garp was speechless. "Okay. You guys with fruit abilities are great, then I'll go find Zephyr. Zephyr's lack of fruit ability must be as uncomfortable as mine." When Garp looked at Zephyr, he saw Zephyr took out a pair of sunglasses from his arms and put them on with a calm expression. Garp was shocked and said angrily, "You are shameless." Zephyr laughed and said, "What's wrong with me? I've known for a long time that Fergus is a Paramecia light fruit user, so I wore a pair of sunglasses to watch the game." "Oh, why is the marine hero crying?" The veins on Garp's forehead popped out in anger, but no matter how angry he was, he couldn't stop the tears from falling from the corners of his eyes. As long as he opened his eyes, he would definitely shed tears. "Give me a pair of sunglasses too. I just wore these sunglasses." Garp said angrily, "I don't care. If you don't give it to me, I will take the one you brought. At worst, each of us will have one eye." Seeing that Garp really wanted to take action, Zephyr had no choice but to take out another pair of sunglasses from his arms and throw them to Garp. Zephyr said angrily, "Is this a marine hero? A marine bandit is more or less the same." Garp took the sunglasses and put them on happily. His eyes immediately felt much more comfortable and he didn't feel like crying. "I didn't care about Zephyr's words at all. What's wrong with bandits? I still want to be a bandit." Seeing Bai Ye's battle scene, Garp even thought about taking Bai Ye away and becoming his apprentice. If he hadn't been worried about pissing off the old guy Zephyr, Garp would have dared to do this. The unexpected bright light caught Bai Ye off guard. Others only suffered from the radiating light, but he was at the center of the light. In addition to the light, he also felt the heat, as if his whole person was being put into a furnace. When the light reaches a certain intensity, it will also emit terrifying heat. Bai Ye's eyes were stinging and uncomfortable, and he couldn't open them at all. He didn't know what was going on around him. Subconsciously, I wanted to use shave to leave the place, but I was stunned when I was about to use it. Isn't this the fighting environment he always wanted? Under the strong light, you can't open your eyes and can only rely on intuition to avoid it. If you can't avoid it, you have to rely on your body to resist. It fit his idea perfectly. So Bai Ye chose not to leave, but stood there, quietly comprehending everything around him, the airflow passing through his body, and the smell in the air. These could give him hints and become his eyes. Bai Ye can't see it, and Cook and others can't see it either. But after observing for so long, Cook was betting that Bai Ye would not use moonwalk and shave to open the position. So they only need to attack at Bai Ye's location in their memory. He was right in his bet, Bai Ye would not avoid it. The four of them took action together. While Bai Ye couldn't see, he felt that the sensitivity of other organs seemed to have increased, and he felt the subtle movement of the airflow in the air. It seems like there are two left sides, one right side, and one bottom side. Following the thoughts in his mind, Bai Ye's body began to dodge the attack. The left side of the body suddenly became thinner and dodged two-finger guns. The next moment, the right side of the body twisted to the left and dodged a punch, and the body formed a somewhat weird S-shape. Cook relied on his memory to stab Bai Ye's abdomen with a sword. Bai Ye did not dodge the sword. When the sword approached, he waved his left hand and grabbed the sword directly. Bai Ye felt that there was a force under the skin that wanted to come out. He kept trying, but he never broke through the limitations of the skin. Bai Ye knew that this should be armed hockey, he could already sense it. When Cook was caught by the blade, he shouted, "Quick!" Suddenly a shocking bear roar came from behind Bai Ye, roar, and Quake turned into a huge black bear, exuding a wild aura. It is nearly 5 meters tall, with limbs as big as 3 people hugging each other. Long claws extend from the bear's claws, as sharp as a machete. Like a bear's paw the size of a roof, it shot towards Bai Ye's head like it blocked the sky and the sun. The strong wind it brought about even pressed cracks into the ground. This was the last attack arranged by Cook. After Bai Ye avoided their attack, it was absolutely impossible to avoid Quick's attack again. Even if Bai Ye wanted to use moonwalk to escape at this time, Cook and others would tightly entangle him to prevent him from escaping. It can be said that as long as Bai Ye did not use moonwalk to distance himself from the beginning, Quick's attack might not be able to hit. Their hope of comeback rested on Quick's attack. And Quick also knew this, so he also tried his best to suck the milk and exerted all his strength. Is this your plan? It's really not that good. Unfortunately, my plan also met expectations. A faint smile appeared on Bai Ye's lips. Paper painting LV5 full, iron block LV5 full. Congratulations to the host whose skill has reached full level and triggers the extended skill. The paper painting will be changed to the hegemonic color of seeing and hearing, and the iron block will be changed to the domineering color of the weapon. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket change. Close black lens bracket. Of course, it changed. Isn't this the purpose of Bai Ye's battle? Change completed. Knowledge color domineering LV1 plus armed color domineering LV1 plus. It's finally done. This battle can finally be over. Facing the palm with terrifying power, Bai Ye stretched out the index finger of his right hand. The index finger was covered with armed domineering energy and suddenly turned black. This was the limit of Bai Ye's ability. The seemingly weak point of the index finger is in the center of the fallen bear's paw. The bear's paw was like a falling meteorite. For a while, it could no longer fall, and was blocked by a finger. Warring States and others saw it clearly, and immediately started to slap the case, and said in a voiceless voice, as this armed and domineering. Zephyr was shocked but also a little happy. He really succeeded in understanding domineering, and he is worthy of being my disciple. Chapter 40 The Warring States Periods and Tension. Advertise here. Impossible, how could this happen? Quick looked at the scene that happened in front of him in disbelief. He knew his strength very well. If he used it with all his strength, he could tear a small warship to pieces. But now it was actually blocked with a finger. Tell him how to believe this fact. Cook and the other two instructors naturally recognized the armed domination displayed by Bai Ye. Combined with what Bai Ye had done before, they all understood what was going on. Cook smiled bitterly and said, "What a boy, you actually used 600 of us to train yourself. Today's young people are really getting more and more crazy. We are getting old after all, so we can only take a back seat and teach students." Several instructors were filled with emotions for a while, as if recalling their past when they were young. Quick, on the other hand, was a bit disloyal and waved his left palm with all his strength. The strong wind brought by the huge bear paw blew the surrounding soldiers so hard that they couldn't even stand up. Bai Ye smiled and said, "You're still here, now I don't have to let you go." Before, he was standing here to be attacked by them in order to develop his two-color domineering power. Now that his goal has been achieved, he naturally no longer needs to restrain himself. Bai Ye suddenly disappeared in front of everyone's eyes, and appeared on top of Quick's head the next moment. Such a big thing does look quite intimidating, but it's a pity that it doesn't scare me. Bai Ye knocked lightly on the back of Quick's head, and Quick, who was still roaring, fainted instantly. The unconscious Quick could not maintain his animal form, so he returned to his human form and fell from the air. Just as Bai Ye was about to take action, he saw Ferguson jump up and catch Quick. It seemed that the two of them had wiped away all their past grudges in today's battle. For men, there is no easier way to strengthen a relationship than to fight side by side. Bai Ye thought shamelessly, "Hey, I did a good deed unintentionally." Bai Ye stood in midair, winked downwards and said, "Cook instructor, do you want to continue fighting?" How could Cook not understand what Bai Ye meant? If the fight continued, this kid would no longer suppress him. Forget it, I secretly punched a few times this time, so I'll be content. But we can't dwell on this matter, otherwise the battle won't be painful at all and Bai Ye will be able to hone his two-color domineering spirit with the help of them. They didn't take advantage of anything, and they even made a fool of themselves among many Marine senior executives. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Cook said, "If we don't fight, we will admit defeat." As their commander-in-chief, Cook can naturally represent their opinions. After Bai Ye heard this, he turned to look at Zephyr and shouted, "Teacher Zephyr, make an announcement quickly." Zephyr was stunned and said blankly, "What announcement? Didn't they admit defeat?" Bai Ye said helplessly, "Announce that I am the first in this month's training camp assessment." There is nothing Bai Ye can do. The system is stubborn and only accepts the first place in the assessment for the tasks issued. Even if they all admit defeat, Zephyr, who is in charge of the assessment, needs to announce his confirmation. Otherwise, even if Bai Ye beats everyone present, the mission will not be considered completed. Of course, he couldn't beat them. Just the four on the viewing platform, anyone who came out would be a big blow to him. That's it. The people of Zephyr are all stupid. You beat them to the point of admitting defeat. Aren't you the number one? You still have to ask me to announce that you are number one, do you have to pretend so completely? Can't you just be more low-key? Warring States laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, this little guy is quite proud." Aokiji also smiled and shook his head. This junior brother seemed to care about face. Garp, on the other hand, looked thoughtful, wondering what he was thinking about. So Zephyr announced with some embarrassment, "Well, the number one in this training camp assessment is Bai Ye." The high-ranking officers sitting around looked at Teacher Zephyr's embarrassed look, and then listened to these words, and they all laughed. But Bai Ye didn't pay attention to this. After Zephyr made the announcement, the system's voice sounded in his mind. "Congratulations to host for completing the mission and receiving a reward of 200 points of world source power." Okay, the plan was successfully completed. In the stands, Garp asked Sengoku for another leave with a serious look on his face. Warring States was anxious at that time. "Didn't you, old guy, just come back from vacation? Why do you need to take vacation again?" The situation on the sea now looks calm, but in fact it is rough. Moreover, Sengoku has just received news that the Beast Pirates, one of the 4 Emperor's pirate groups, has frequent contact with Heavenly Yaksha, Doflamingo, one of the Shichibukai. I originally thought about asking Garp to investigate when he came back, but who would have thought that this old guy would actually take a vacation again? Garp looked at Sengoku, who was blowing his beard and staring, unmoved at all. After seeing Bai Ye's performance, he felt extremely depressed. So Garp decided to go to the East China Sea this vacation and not come back until he taught Luffy an excellent marine. Warring States looked at Garp, who looked like he was going to take a vacation, so he could only shake his head helplessly. A month at most, and you won't have a vacation this year. Garp was overjoyed when he heard Sengoku speak, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, 1 month is enough." If the redhead heard what Garp said, he would probably laugh his head off. Do you think 2 months would be enough for you to change Luffy's mind? Laozi spent more than 10 years. Sengoku thought for a while and thought about the people in the marine headquarters who were suitable for missions. Aokiji is definitely one, but Aokiji has just returned from a mission, and coupled with his lazy temperament, I am afraid he is not suitable for this kind of investigation mission. As for the remaining marine headquarters lieutenant generals, there are not many, and they must stay at marine headquarters in case of emergency. As for the major general of our headquarters to deal with such a matter, I am afraid that his strength is somewhat insufficient and he will not be able to control the situation. Doflamingo is not an easy character to deal with. If it is not handled properly, there may be a fight between the two sides. Where can I find someone who is good enough, has no affairs of his own, and can handle things efficiently? While Warring States was thinking, his eyes gradually focused on Bai Ye not far away. That's right, isn't there just such a person in front of you? His strength is not weak, comparable to that of Marine Headquarters Lieutenant General. I just practice in the training camp every day, without any business. Moreover, Warring States had read Bai Ye's files and had a certain understanding of Bai Ye. He is decisive enough to deal with things and has ruthless methods, which is very suitable for dealing with pirates. Although Bai Ye is very suitable for Sengoku to be responsible for this operation, there is still a problem at hand. How to steal people from Zepha's hands. After all, there is still a certain degree of danger in this operation. And Bai Ye is just a recruit and has only been training for a month.